Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Yeah, we are professionals. Accidentally almost played the outro there. Excellent. Shout out to Flash Fan. Happy to see you. You guys can probably tell my voice is still worse for the wear, but you know what? This was just too exciting to wait. I couldn't wait to go through these interviews with you guys because it is epic. And so some of you guys may have heard. Oh, and you know what? I meant to do something. Hold on. Let me do this real quick. I meant to do this as well. Gosh, I can't even do my singing, but I still have the like it's still automatic for me. But anyway, okay. So here we go. Remember night driving? It's been a while, guys. Love it. Shout out to Candace. Yes, true. At least I don't have to read. Very good point. I know. For real. Yep. Of course, that was in reference to reading documents like I was doing last night for Shanna Gardner. But yes, so some of you guys may had heard me mention that these interviews, there's 3 of them, were only available on one specific channel. And I don't want to do it that way. And this is that channel. Now, I did reach out to that channel, and I have not heard back yet. So, but having said that, having said that, I'm just going to do everything I can with my due diligence here, because this just needs to be shared with y'all and with the world. And so I'll say it probably several times during this live stream, but I'm going to say it now. First and foremost, huge shout out to Deep Dive True Crime Mentor Lawyer for obtaining these interviews. They are the channel that got them. And so that is all credit for them. And in this video description, you will find a link to this exact video, the original video, as well as a link to their channel. So they are another channel that has been on the Dan Markel case since day one. So they are a great resource. And for any of you guys who are interested in delving more into all the, again, the backstory for this is like a labyrinth, right? As y'all know, highly recommend to check them out. And they cover other cases as well, but I think they really got their start, just like STS did with this case. So yeah, so this is their, again, they obtained these interviews. So huge shout out to them. Thank you so much. It's important, right? Because like these interviews are insane. And we wouldn't have it were it not for them. And I will say, for those of you guys who watched the Ezra trial, or even if you just saw portions with Jason Mangle and we watched his interview or I guess there was more than one with law enforcement, there's a lot of similarities. It's kind of crazy. You guys will notice a lot of similarities, both in them kind of as people, but also watching their process as they kind of start to wrap their head around just who they were dating. And it comes like in waves and it comes in layers. And another thing that's funny to note too is similarly, if you guys recall Jason Mangle, after his first 1 or 2 interviews, or whatever, he would come back subsequently with lists of like, since I saw you guys, here's all these things I thought of, and I don't know if they're relevant, but this is just, and it was like stream of consciousness. He had these lists, and Jeff does the same thing. It's really funny. They're just like realizing, oh my God, like I have all this information and I didn't know it was relevant, but like after getting time away and from the grips of these women, they start to, things start to change. And you'll hear him mention that as well. So glad you guys had some dinner. Excellent. Hey, Candace, any updates on your daughter, if you feel like sharing? So let me turn off our lovely background music here. I do have some new things as well. I have a new sound effect.
I have that start.
And I also have a new swoop. So let's take a look at the new swoop.
I have that start.
So, and also we will probably at some point take a look at the MTV Real World True Crime Edition and go over some of that stuff in case we do end up doing that tomorrow, because we need to go through and do like the prelims. So we'll sort of see how it goes. But here's sort of the plan for today. I've got it'll have the subtitles. My plan for this is to play, sections, right? And I'm gonna do my best, right, to not talk. Okay. And what I'll do is we'll play like, sections to where it seems like it's a good, stopping point. And then we will stop, and then we'll do like maybe like QAC. I decided to call it like, Q&A, like you guys know what that is, but QAC, like questions, answers, comments. And then we may at that point choose to go back and rewatch some of it and then break it down just depending on what it is. Because I know there's a lot of people, rightfully so, who want to be able to see things without commentary or hear things without commentary for good reason, right? I totally get it. But also there's going to be a lot of moments that are going to be worth pausing and being like, hang on, right? So that's sort of my plan. So that, again, you'll be able to hear everything. You'll be able to hear everything like, without interruption. And then we'll have sort of like, little points, like breaking points, right? Again, like QAC, like I said, and then we can also discuss things and stuff like that. So does that sound good to you guys? I think it'll work pretty well for everybody. Okay. Candace said the surgery's moved to January 9th, right? Oh God. I'm so sorry, Candace. Are they expecting a better outcome after the surgery? Like do you know the prognosis? Leftovers. Are these turkey leftovers? Yeah, my mom had a huge turkey and there was so much turkey. We were joking. I was like, okay, Mom, you're gonna have to have turkey for breakfast, like turkey cereal, turkey for lunch, turkey for dinner. And I wonder if she probably had turkey all day today, all the turkey. So that's sort of the plan. So, and again, at some point when we take breaks, we will take a look at, let me pull this up real quick. Hold on. Unshare, reshare. For anyone who's like, what's going on with your voice? I've been sick, I guess. And it's still going on. And I don't feel like as crappy, but my voice now is really affected. So my voice was fine when I was like felt sicker. Anyway, so here it is. So the Real World, this is the actual logo, right? And then I added True Crime Edition. Now, if you guys remember, they had that font that looked like chicken scratch, handwriting. So I found like the exact font that they also would use, and the same colors, right? The yellow, put True Crime. So this is what we can work on a little bit here as well, if you guys want to, because the plan is hopefully for tomorrow, we'll do a New Year's Eve live stream with the finals of the Real World True Crime Edition. And we'll also do the premiere of the Legend of Glenn compilation, Best of Glenn, and probably some other fun things as well. So, but in order to do this, we need to start with like the prelims, and then the idea would be that you guys can vote. So, okay. So let me go back to the other. I see. I can't sing that. My inclination is to sing it. I can't sing it like I normally do my little sounds. It's so funny. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this was a premise. This was actually Heather's idea on one of the recent live streams with well, the idea will be what we will talk about is, right, if you had to imagine Real World, but with all people from true crime, right? All these different cases and in a house together, right? And I'm sure you guys can imagine how fun this will be to kind of think about. And we'll have to like start with a larger list and then we'll like narrow it down. And the idea would be to vote, right? And then and then I'll probably like do something where we have like pictures and we'll try to actually play it out. Like what would happen? Like what would this even be like? I think it'd be pretty funny. So, okay. I'm so sorry, Candace. It's awful. So she hasn't been through chemo or radiation or anything. I would imagine they're going to try to remove the tumor first. But I'm really, really sorry. Okay, that's so great. That's what Candace is having. Leftovers. Right. Yeah. Cancer's the worst. For any of you guys who don't know, I lost my dad to cancer. There's nothing else that can be said. Fuck cancer, right? Just nothing else that can be said. So, okay. So without further ado, let's get started. Like I said, I'm going to try not to, we'll have designated times where we will discuss it and everything. So we're going to jump on in, and then we will, again, we'll have a breaking point here in a little bit.
I come to the conclusion, as you said a minute ago, that she was at least aware this was going to happen, and I think probably involved in it.
Sorry, I know I said I was going to pause it, but we haven't really gotten into it. I just want to say again, this is from Mentor Wire Deep Dive to True Crime. So sometimes guys will see he's overlays images with the interview playing, just so you guys aren't like, what the heck. So like, for example, this is a picture of Wendi that they took of her after her interrogation, as they do with people, right? Well, it looks like she's barefoot or something. Anyway, so if you'll see pictures come up, you'll see pictures of the other people who've been convicted. You'll see pictures of Dan Markel. So, sometimes those images will just kind of come up, but that's just it. That's what it is. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Mr. Lacasse, I appreciate you coming in and talking with me here. Like I said, we're still in the preliminary stages of this investigation.
Yeah.
Your name did come up,
Of course.
Because you were associated at some point with Wendi,
Of course.
which is his ex-wife, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have one more thing just to lay the stage here, or set the stage. So remember, Dan Markel was shot on July 18th, 2014. That's also when Wendi's interrogation was. So this is, remember how she, her friend suggested Jeff, and then they try to like, Jeff, we gotta look at Jeff, right? So this is just so you guys have like a timeline here. So this is 3 days later, right? July 21st, 2014. It's 3 days after they talked to Wendi. Okay.
So basically just, I appreciate you coming in.
Sure.
I want to ask you some questions, kind of figure out where you were, if you've heard anything, if you have any information that would be helpful to us.
Yeah.
Just kind of run that whole gamut. Okay, so
Can I ask one question before you get started? Is this,
I'm sorry.
is this on the record as I give you this?
Yeah, it's on the record.
Is there any opportunity to talk off the record, or that's not possible?
No, it's possible.
Okay, we do on the record first, and I have a couple theoretical things that
Sure.
I want to be quoted on, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that Windrush Village?
It is.
Apartment 41?
Mm-hmm.
How do you like the neighborhood over there?
It's cheap. It's $500 a month. I'm saving for a house. So.
Oh, okay. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I used to live right over there off of Claremont.
Yeah, sure.
Which is right there across the road. from
That's
us.
very nice over there.
Well, like you said, it's kind of cheap over there.
Yeah.
That's where I first moved when I got out of college. But
Gotcha.
anyway, that's neither here nor there. Do you have any contact numbers that I can reach you at? Should I
Sure.
need to talk to you later?
Sure.
I think I talked to you on a 294 number.
That's the number. That's the only number I have.
That's your number.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that one. Just tell me a little bit about yourself as far as your background and
Sure,
stuff like
sure,
that, and kind of what you and Wendi.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually got my PhD here at Florida State for 2008.
Okay.
Graduated from FSU, went to Arizona for 5 years, and this is my first year back. So I met Wendi maybe a month after I got back. Met her in September of 2013.
Okay.
We were set up on a date by a mutual friend I work with.
Okay. Again, we're not. I know I said I wouldn't, but again, we're just getting the basics here, right? So hopefully this is it. But I just wanted to say something. The mutual friend, that's Jane, right? If you guys recall, that she said that she was a colleague of his or whatever, and that she never thought anything wrong about him or whatever. Like when they asked her, like, do you think he's whatever it was that Wendi had said, right? Jealous or whatever. And she was like, I don't ever thought of him that way, but like, so essentially it was like, oh, so that was what Wendi told you, but your experience of him as a colleague isn't like that. So, but I also want to note, because it comes up, but it doesn't come up until a little bit later, if I recall. So Jeff Lacasse is a professor, and he has all his degrees are in like mental health, psychology, psychiatry. So when you'll hear him comment on things in that realm. But that's why I wanted to mention it, so that it's not just like, some people just do that, right? Like, obviously all the time, right? He's actually in that field. So just so you guys know, like, he's not just talking on a turn or just saying stuff, because he will talk about potential, personality disorders and other things like that for all the family members. And he'll make kind of assessments based on what he experienced. But just wanted to point out that he's actually qualified, right? So yeah, okay.
Dr. Jane, I know you've met Jane, so.
I have.
Oh, you have someone met Jane. She was in here when Wendi did her long 9-hour day.
Okay, and I take it you've talked to somebody about that because you know about it?
I talked to Jane for 5 minutes. I've been out of town.
Okay.
And Wendi and I are estranged at the moment, so it's pretty bad timing in terms of that. So I can get to that as I give you the tail end of it.
Sure.
So we started dating in September, did it all through the fall.
Okay.
Wasn't serious back then. She was dating other people as well. Came back from Christmas break, had a conversation, decided to date more seriously. And by March 1, we're a couple, we're girlfriend, boyfriend.
By March of 2014?
Yeah. And then spent a lot of time with Wendi. I don't think anybody's been with Wendi more than me the last 6 months.
Okay.
She has 2 kids. I've been over there, I'd say 80 or 90% of the nights I'm over there. And every single night that she doesn't have the kids, with maybe just 1 or 2 exceptions, if she's in town, I've slept over. So I spent a lot of time with her. We had some problems.
Where's that at?
That's 3303 Aqua Ridge Way in Corn. Always at her house, never at mine. I got a shitty apartment, as you know. We ran into some problems in May and June. Started fighting.
And I'm not here to get into your personal life.
Yeah, but I think it may bear. Go ahead. Yeah.
But given the severity of this incident,
Yes.
I mean, I am going to pry a little bit. I hope you
Try
don't
as
get
much as
offended
you
by that.
I'm not offended.
Ultimately, I mean, what our goal is to find out who did this and to bring them to justice.
I get it. I
You
get
know,
it.
so
anything you need to ask. That helps me, because I don't want to volunteer my BS if it's not useful to you. So tell me what's useful to you. If anything you want.
yeah, and with that, I'll just tell me everything, and I'll write down.
I'll just point out real quick too, again, another funny similarity too, right, between him and Jason Mangle, because both of them are so candid. They're open books, right? It's like, but you better ask the questions to me, because otherwise I'll just, I could go on and on because I have no qualms about it, right? Like he was like, I don't want to just spew BS. What did he say exactly? Let me back it up a second.
Is to find out who did this and bring them to justice.
I get it. I
You
get
know,
it. So anything you need to ask. That helps me, because I don't want to volunteer my BS if it's not useful to you. So tell me what.
Volunteer my BS if it's not useful to you. And again, this just what comes to mind is the part like with Jason Mangle when he talks about like what, when he had to eat like the pizza or whatever, and that comes up in the trial. And he just sort of vents, and they go off on like, they have all these long conversations, him and the detectives, and they seem to kind of build like a bit of a friendship. Honestly, if you guys recall, it was nice to see actually, because he was just completely destroyed. I mean, in every way, for that whole thing. Anyway, but yeah, it's just, again, another similarity where it's like, I'll tell you whatever you want, but like, just so you know, like, I can go on and on. So you might want to keep it, give me some questions. So,
What's useful to you, if anything you want.
Yeah, and with that, I'll just tell me everything, and I'll write down what's useful and discard the rest.
Okay.
So what kind of problems were you getting into in May and June? Was it?
Yeah. Jeez, this is gonna be public. This is fucked up.
Wait, what was that?
I said if this goes public, it's just I know how this works.
It probably won't.
Okay.
What was that about?
I was just same thing. I was just trying to say, look, let's just forgive him, forget him. Both of us will move on here, But she wanted me to just roll over, and it's a little too stubborn. I didn't trust her anymore. It's damaged beyond repair, probably. I was in love with this girl, man, so it was hard. maybe with the kids, like a co-parent basically. It was really rough.
How old are the kids?
3 and 4. Yeah, Ben and Lincoln. So the next night, and by the way, while she's in South Florida, she is completely miserable. She gets depressed, she gets anxious, and she's got her baggage. But I never, even though we didn't have much contact, I never heard her as bad as she was this trip to South Florida. I mean, this blew up her world.
And how do you know she was in a bad place?
Just because when we talked, she was just.
So she did call you like.
Yeah. 14 days, I got 3 phone calls.
When did you contact Jane?
Contacted Jane on Saturday when I was emailed that Danny had been shot. And I called Jane and I said, hey, I don't know if I should contact Wendi or not. This seems like this is way more important than a stupid no contact email.
Right, because remember, Wendi had been like, hey, I need a break in time. Don't contact me or whatever. And we're going to talk more about that as he did, and we're going to hear more about that from his end. It's very interesting. So.
And she said, yeah, just email, just text her. And I sent her just a nice text saying, you know, I care a lot about you and the kids. If you need anything, I know we're in a strange place, but if you need anything, please let me know. I'm always here, you know. She didn't even text back.
When was that?
That was Saturday at 2 p.m.
Well, I mean, she's got a lot on her mind right now.
She does, but the thing was, she's texting with Jane. She's calling other people, mutual friends. She's in touch with lots of other people.
Oh, okay.
Also,
Right.
like,
And this may be too messy for her.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to.
I wouldn't take that personal
No, I'm not.
at this point.
No, I'm not. I know she's in a mess. I sent her a book for her little kids about bereavement from Amazon, and that'd be the last contact I have. So.
All right, you sent a text on Saturday
2
to
p.m.
her. It went unanswered.
Yep. And then I'm on the phone with Jane 5 minutes later, and Jane's like, "Oh, I'm getting a text from Wendi," so I know she was around.
Right.
And her phone was working.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the
Do you know if she's dating anyone else?
I'm gonna have to speculate a little bit.
Okay, that's fine. Like I said, we're investigating any and all leads.
So if you're looking for a potential love triangle, if that's the issue, like, you know, someone that would.
We're still,
Yeah.
we're still trying to figure out.
now we're starting to get into like the really good stuff here. So if you're looking for a potential love triangle, actually that was on the thumbnail. And if you guys noticed on the thumbnail too, it's really cute actually. If you guys take a look, the squanguen, because it's the tea, right? The squanguen has a really decorative teapot and is pouring tea into like another like decorative like tea cup, I guess. It's pretty cute. So you guys might, might put a smile on y'all's face. I enjoyed making that, looking like the squanguen is pouring the tea, and finding like the decorative ones with the right colors. But anyway, yeah. So just like I did with Wendi, I've got on the thumbnail like, moments where it's like such, less than so, however many minutes in, blah, 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 right? And there's like 4 different statements on there. It was hard to even pick 4 because there's so many bombshells in this. There's so many bombshells in this. So yeah.
This out.
Yeah. It's weird because I don't want to sound just
your
like
new
the jealous
picture?
boyfriend, you know what I mean? So
We're taking all that into consideration
Okay,
too.
fine.
And I mean,
Okay. There's going to be a lot of men that are enamored of Wendi, that are
Good night, Blackwater.
really into Wendi and feel protective over Wendi, and there's a few of them. Now, I don't know which of these guys she's going to say, oh, that's just a friend, and that's true. I don't know. But I'm, skeptical.
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You say she can kind of put men under her spell.
Absolutely.
For lack of a better term.
No, it's true. It's true. I was caught, yeah.
Who's the guy
Under Wendy's
that is,
spell.
like totally that guy, just out of sorts, not himself, would do anything for her?
See, I don't think it's like,
Do you think there's anybody like that out there?
well, I wonder. You guys would have access to find out that. I've always suspected there's a guy in South Florida because not getting my phone calls returned, all this kind of stuff. And she goes to South Florida a lot.
Okay.
And there's a weird pattern of behavior. And so my suspicion has always been that there was a guy in South Florida. I wouldn't know who that was.
All right. Can you tell me where you were, like, up to and immediately after
Sure.
Friday?
Yeah, absolutely. Thursday night, was very upset about all this, and I was going to Tennessee on Friday or Saturday. I had big plans. I called my friend and said, I'm really upset. He said, get in your car and drive. So Thursday at 7-ish, I just started driving north on 319 to get to 75. I drove probably halfway to Tennessee, stayed in a suburb of Atlanta Thursday night. Friday, I drove to Tennessee, Harrogate, Tennessee. And I just got back.
So when you drove, what'd you drive? Your vehicle?
My car, 2004 Nissan Sentra.
And you said you stopped in the suburb of Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
Where was that?
Can't remember. I stayed at a really crappy Days Inn, maybe 20 miles south of Atlanta.
Yeah, and he's also
20 miles south of Atlanta.
Yeah, roughly.
I think I will say too is like he's really brilliant. Like we haven't even gotten into like he's very, very, very intuitive and very insightful and very intelligent. So definitely normal, right? But he also has a really good grasp on people, which makes sense, right? Because he's a mental health, he's a professor and he, I imagine he's teaching like psychology at the university, and I'm sure he'll, elaborate on that too. But yeah, interesting how, again, like he said, Wendi put him under her spell or whatever, right? That seems like that's what she did. And funny too, because honestly, him and Dan Markel, I mean, they don't look alike, obviously, but there's a lot of similar features in terms of their appearance. And, it's interesting. Anyway.
Pull up a credit card receipt if you really need to know.
Pay with a credit card?
Yeah. Use my credit card on the whole trip. And I stayed with a very close friend up there and his wife. So I stayed at their house.
Okay. Okay, so if you just let me get a timeline.
Yeah.
So Thursday you started driving. You drove up to roughly Atlanta.
Yeah, about 11:30 I pulled over. Yeah, it's getting tired.
All right, what time did you get up and leave?
I left at 9 a.m. I couldn't sleep that night. I was upset about Wendi. So I probably was out watching TV at 2:30. I got up at 8:15 and I took a shower, got out of there at 9.
What time did you check out? 9?
I didn't check out. Just one of those crappy flew back hotels. I just got in my car. And I'm in Tennessee by 2:30.
And then when did you start coming back?
I left Sunday at about 10:30. Stopped in Kennesaw, Georgia to stay the night with a friend and just got back.
I talked to my boss as far as whatever you wanted to talk about off the record.
Yeah.
And she gave me the answer that I kind of expected she would. And ultimately, it depends on what it is you're going to say.
Makes sense.
Because if it's something that's instrumental to the investigation, it can't really be off the record because,
Right.
I mean, we're trying to solve a guy's homicide
I
here.
know. It's hearsay. It's tertiary hearsay. I don't know if that's useful to you.
Yeah.
I tell you something, somebody told me, somebody else told me.
Yeah, I mean,
Tertiary hearsay. This is you gotta love this guy, right? I appreciate that he is cognizant of that, right? He's not just like, here's something that I heard through the grapevine and I'm gonna just tell it to you, like you see what I mean? Like he's already got a filter of like, take it with a grain of salt. This is tertiary hearsay. And that's why he asked that question, knowing that it's not as definitive or as reliable as his own direct impressions or something he heard himself. I just really appreciate him being cautious about that. There's something else I was going to say too. Oh, right. So I would imagine then that the reason they waited to talk to him until July 21st is because it sounds like he just got back from being out of town. So I wonder if they maybe would have talked to him on the 18th, but he was out of town, and then they waited for him to get back. So
You'd have to tell me what it was, and I would have to say, okay, is this something that can be excluded from the report, or is it something that's inculpatory? Is it something that
Maybe I can just make it simpler than that.
Now, I think that's interesting, right? Because if it's exculpatory, it should be just as important, right?
I can just say, I would be investigating Charlie Adelson.
okay?
Maybe it's that simple.
There it is.
What
There
makes
it
you
is.
say that?
Um,
And here's another thing. We're talking to a lot of people
sure you
here,
are. Sure you are.
and you're just telling us what you think,
Sure.
and everybody else is doing the same
Of
thing,
course. I don't
and
think
that's
right.
okay.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
What we're trying to do is just get all the puzzle pieces before we start trying to put the puzzle together.
You know what's funny though is like puzzle pieces. What's funny is like little does he know that he doesn't need to worry about it, right? Like think about the difference, right? So Wendi, Charlie's own sister, had literally no qualms implicating him several times over, right? Throwing him under the bus, literally had no qualms. However, how interesting, right? This speaks as people, right? Think about people. And then think about how he is like cautious about it because he doesn't want to like implicate somebody based on, again, like he called it tertiary hearsay. Yet Wendi had no qualms about it at all. And it's her own brother, which is just crazy, right? Yep, Candace keeping track here. 2 votes for Charlie. Thank you. Yes, and yes, indeed. Shout out to IS. Happy you're here again. By the way, for anyone who's just now joining us, if my voice sounds weird, I'm sure it does. I've got a hoarse voice. I've been sick and it's annoying. And it sucks because I can't make all my squirrely sound effects and I can't do all my singing, or sometimes I try because I can't help it, but it just sounds weird. But anyway, better late than never. It's all good. We're just getting into this, well, there's 3 of them, right? But his first interview. So feel free to ask any questions. They're just kind of getting warmed up. This is 3 days after Wendi's interrogation. And I'll just reiterate again for anyone who's joining us, Jeff is Wendi's ex-boyfriend. He's a professor and at FSU and in mental health. And he has degrees in psychology and, mental health services and whatnot. And again, you'll see more about that as we go along. So again, whenever he makes comments on things that could be in the realm of like personality disorders or whatever, he's actually a trained professional. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out as well. And again, all credit goes to Deep Dive to Crime and Mentor Lawyer for obtaining these videos because they're the only channel that has done so. Of course, it says so right here, but I just wanted to say it again. Hopefully nothing bad happens. Like I said, I've given them all the credit for providing this. But yes, Stevie B. I'm trying to remember who that was. Can you remind me who that was? Oh. Well, so okay, I remember what you're asking about. So we haven't actually had another Idaho video since then. So there's some people who they are only, and I think he's in that situation, if I recall, big shout out to Stevie B, by the way. He's probably not listening for exactly what I'm going to say, but Stevie B, if I recall, hadn't ever watched a full trial. And this is like Brian Koberger, Idaho 4. That's like his first case that he's been interested in and been following. So he's really invested in that case, but I don't think he's pays attention to any other cases. So as far as I know, he's here for every Idaho video, whether it's live or on Replay Crew or in the comments. And Flash, if you look through the comments too, he did leave a comment, a lengthy comment about exactly what you had said. And I think we talked about it too. Like, he didn't want to make anybody feel bad and all that, right? So you don't need to, nobody's got any hard feelings. Everybody agrees and is on the same page about all that. So yeah, so I would expect to see him probably on the next Idaho video, which there hasn't been anything new popping up. So I don't know when that'll be, but yeah, you totally don't have to worry. But if you'd want to respond to the comment on, I think it was probably the most recent Idaho video, you can read that and you can respond if you feel like you want to do that. So yeah.
We're still in the stages of getting all the pieces.
I got you.
So,
all right. So like I said, there's going to be pictures popping up. So this is a very young Charlie Adelson. For anyone who hasn't seen him, he does not look like this anymore, but this is him like spring chicken version, as I say.
why do you think it would be pertinent for us to investigate Charlie?
He's very angry about Danny. And if you met, I know he's down there, you can't get him in front of you, but you're, experienced investigator. If you got in front of this guy, he'd set off your radar, set off mine. I used to do juvenile justice, I used to do forensic psychiatry. He set off my radar a little bit. He's a weird guy. strange guy's a conduct disorder kid.
I'm going to back it up just to hear that because he says actually forensic psychiatry, which makes him even more qualified to weigh in on this.
Experienced investigator. If you got in front of this guy, he'd set off your radar. Set off mine. I used to do juvenile justice. I used to do forensic psychiatry.
Okay, I used to do juvenile justice. I used to do forensic psychiatry. And again, I would imagine that was before he decided he wanted to teach it, right? At FSU. And so he's now a professor, but he was practicing. So that's why I'm understanding. He used to be practicing and now he's teaching, as is often the path. So there you go.
He set off my radar a little bit. He's a weird guy. Strange guy's a conduct disorder kid. And he hates Danny. And see if I can put it a little vaguely, or not, but just enough to be useful here.
Let's not put it vague. Let's go with what you know specifically.
Wendi had reported to me that Charlie had considered all the options possible to take care of this problem. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And when she said it,
when did she disclose this to you?
I don't remember when, but she said it was chilling because she said, "Can I tell you something confidentially?" And I said, "Sure." She said, "I think Charlie kind of looked into some options, like literally saw how and why and how you would do this if you did it." I think this was last summer when she had a petition to relocate denied. That family wants her back there so bad.
And this is when she disclosed this to you, was last summer?
No. This is when.
Charlie
had been examining all the options.
Okay.
He's a very successful dentist, but he reeks of antisocial behavior.
I mean, right there, that's a bold statement. We're going to listen to that again. But also, who else here, when they hear the word dentist, do they think of Crentist? Your dentist name is Crentist from The Office.
He's a very successful dentist, but he reeks of antisocial behavior. Now, I could be 100% wrong, but I wouldn't want to miss that if I was investigating it. He's got a close friend who's a ex-special forces guy, like a Navy SEAL or something he hangs out with all the time.
What did she say to you specifically? I mean, when you say all options.
She said, Charlie, I can't remember exactly, but it had something to do with the amount of money it would cost to have someone killed.
And what did she say?
Something like Charlie looked into how much it would cost to have someone killed. Something like that. Some statement like that. I can't remember.
Did she give you a dollar amount? Did she?
But that's the other thing. He's a dentist, but he's an independent businessman. He has a bunch of practices, and he's a Ferrari. I think he's a millionaire, all this kind of stuff. So he has a lot of resources. And wow, this might screw them. I got from me talking to him myself in the hot tub one time, from a few things Wendi said.
When was this?
Like March 15th-ish. I was there for the one day with him. I'm staying at his house.
Of this year?
Yes. Wendi and him were talking. I'm just listening. I just met him an hour earlier. We're sitting in the hot tub having a beer. It's a really nice house. And I guess this is what occurred.
Was anybody else in the hot tub with you guys?
Not during this part of the conversation. Another guy, his roommate came in eventually, and then just started to talk about girls and stuff like that. But and I'm not trying to play cop here, but
Sorry. Oh my God. I don't know why it did that. Hold on. I was just trying to comment to you, IS, and to say that we're going to do a Q&A break type thing. And then that was a good question that you asked. But I was trying to type to you and instead it took this off the stage. So let me put this back. Okay. So, but yeah, there's a good question here, but we'll hear this hot tub story and then we'll talk about that. So.
I think there's
a lot of
here. Earlier, we're sitting in the hot tub having a beer. This is a really nice house. And I guess this is what occurred.
Was anybody else in the hot tub with you guys?
Not during this part of the conversation. another guy, his roommate came in eventually, and then just started to talk about girls and stuff like that. But and I'm not trying to play cop here, but I do know one thing you'd be looking for is a lump sum of money moving around and some kind of crazy stuff happen. And I think there's a lot of financial irregularities. I think there's a lot of tax fraud kind of stuff, and putting stuff in different people's names and moving money around, and there might be cash. I don't know exactly what, but he's not doing anything on the up and up in his finances. It was pretty clear. He was pretty open about that. So I thought about if you guys do look into it, I don't know that.
How the exact conversation in the hot tub go?
He was just talking about, I put that in dad's name, I put that in mom's name, and it was just clear that.
Hiding resources.
Yeah.
Monetary resources.
Yeah. So if you have to do an investigation, that's something you guys should know, because I think there's a lot of, I don't know if it's illegal, but I know there's a lot of, he plays the system, This guy's so inappropriate. We're sitting, please don't write this down, but he's so inappropriate. We're sitting in the hot tub, and he starts talking about sex acts with his girlfriend that he did to punish her for bad behavior in front of his sister. I'm like, and I didn't know what to do. I just met him, protected with my girlfriend. This is just so weird, It's like this guy's, his social radar is way off. His sense of right and wrong, just norms is just off. He set off my radar. Now, I don't know if he did this. But if you're looking at somebody, don't miss him. And I can also see him doing this without ever telling Wendi he didn't do it. I can see Wendi being innocent, puzzled, and Charlie did. I can totally see that scenario. He's very protective of her. I think that's more likely than romantic. All the romantic couplings are with highly educated, high elite status men.
I don't want to throw that away.
Who've got a lot to lose. I mean, she doesn't slum that I know of at all. She doesn't.
Well, I mean, this Charlie guy's millionaire by your own admission. So.
Yes. Well, he is. He's got this buddy.
He's got a lot to lose.
He does. He's also really cocky and arrogant and narcissistic. So I wish you had him in front of you, because I think he'd set off your alarm bells. That doesn't mean he did it, but he's aggressive, he's argumentative, focused on himself completely. He's got 3 girlfriends at a time, which some people do that, I know, but no qualms about it,
I'm just going to pause it.
So you think?
So we'll do a brief little, while we've got this on the screen, so you guys can have some time to read it. So here's some info about Jeffrey Lacasse. Again, shout out to Deep Dive to Crime, who put this together. So, they chose to put certain things on the screen as they plays the interviews. So I changed it from QAC to QAD. So Q&A and discussion. So there we go. So now let me go to this question from IS. Okay, so here we go. I wonder if Wendi ever told Charlie not to pursue killing Dan. So this is a great question. And the thing is that there's a number of issues there. First, like factually, right? Like in terms of the questions that you'd have to ask first, right? Like, according to, first, did she know for sure, right? Now, that, a lot of this is something that would be born out, or brought out, if and when she's charged, which it sounds like she will be, and it goes to trial, then that's when a lot of this would come up, right? Because we don't really know what happened specifically. Now, of course can have our own ideas. But we just heard Jeff say himself, right? He said, I could see Wendi knowing about it, knowing he was going to do it, being involved, but I could also see a situation where she knew nothing about it and Charlie just decided. So that's what he says. Now, having said that, we might hear a shift in that perspective as time goes on. And as he says, once he gets further away from Wendi's spell. But what I will say is this: if in the situation, let's say if Charlie had told Wendi, I'm going to kill Dan, and she said, no, don't, okay, she would have an obligation. Well, like when she was interrogated, for example, right? They flat out had asked her, you know what I mean? And what does she say? She throws him under the bus, but then she's like, oh, he's joking, blah, blah, right? But if that had happened, if he had told her he was going to do it and she said, no, don't do it, that would have been the time to say it, because A, if that was the truth, right? But B, if she said, I knew he said he was going to do it and I told him not to, right? That right there would eliminate her the question of her involvement, right? Like if they could show that she tried to stop it in some way. Because we've seen that in other cases, right? Where if somebody knows that someone's going to commit, and especially as an attorney, right? Now, this would apply to your own clients, but you have a certain duty, right? Like if you know someone intends to commit a criminal act, really you should report it, right? But at the very least, in this situation, if indeed the criminal act happens, right, and then you're interrogated about it, even if it's not your ex-husband, that would be the time to say so. And especially because, again, if he had told her he was going to do it and she said, no, don't do it, that would only work in her benefit, in her favor to disclose that, right? And then again, there's a follow-up question here. I wonder if she entertained the hitman idea. So, I mean, again, these are questions that would be coming out more like in terms of her involvement in what happened at her trial. But, again, common sense would say that, well, one thing I will say is this. We're going to learn a lot of information in these interviews that we're watching now. And one of them pertains to weird things that pertaining to Wendi specifically, okay, surrounding the date of the murder and what Wendi's behavior was, Wendi wanting him to leave town. And we've heard a little bit about that. We've talked a little bit about that. But the thing is this, right, that there's going to be things that he will say that to me, and we'll talk about them, but to me show she knew this was going to happen because there's no other explanation. So that right there, again, there's no way around it. Like if she knew it was going to happen, she was involved, right? Like she was in on it, right? Like she at least, like, again, so hopefully that makes sense. But like, again, I think we will see things in these interviews that will show she did entertain it and she was fine with it. Like she didn't try to stop it. She either knew about it, didn't try to stop it, or she gave it the thumbs up, enthusiastically with a big green light, and I'm sure you guys will let me know what you think when we get there in the interview.
He may be good for it.
Assuming this isn't a botched burglary or something like that, he's the first Charlie popped into my head within 20 seconds of hearing this.
Right.
I mean, there's all kind of, just to give you some context that may be helpful.
Again, like his perspective will shift over time, but I think that he ends up, we will see, and I think he ends up realizing that her behavior says it all. Like again, like how just a few minutes ago he had said something like I could see her being involved, or I could see her not being involved. But I think 2 and 2 will get put together with, again, discussing her behavior surrounding that time period to where it really points to her knowing and being involved. So
they're trying to figure out how to manipulate this divorce or work the divorce, I guess, so they can get, it's a bad fight, all this kind of stuff. They were talking about Wendi converting the kids to Christianity just to annoy Danny.
There's that.
I mean, this has been a pitched battle, I mean, we fed the kids bacon regularly. He tries to keep them kosher. There's all kinds of passive aggressive shit going on here, So the family is important that you know this, actually, man. The family is so unhealthily enmeshed, so completely enmeshed, that Wendi is not really an adult. When she drives to South Florida, every single time those two parents.
Let's hear that part again.
So the family is important that you know this, actually, man. The family is so unhealthily enmeshed, so completely enmeshed, that Wendi is not really an adult. When she drives to South Florida, every single time those two parents drive up here and drive with her down. They don't trust her to drive from Tallahassee to Miami. It's not a normal family. It's not like she's a 35-year-old woman that has 2 kids and come down to see us. It's complete enmeshment. It's a matter of they infantilized her. She's considered the baby still. She's 35 years old. Charlie protects her. So I don't know if this could be a bizarre fantasy. I mean, you guys are hearing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I hope to God it wasn't Charlie, honestly, but that's what popped into my head. So.
All right. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
You're okay.
I got stuff happening.
I just spit it all out. So
Did you really?
missed
Okay.
the-
All right, thank you. Who did it?
He's thinking, her brother Charlie could be a viable suspect. I mean, I don't
Okay,
know.
so real quick, I just wanted to say a couple things. So first of all, we have a new swoop, and we're going to do the swoop because I'm going to pull something up here. So here's the new swoop.
I have that start.
And I'm going to pull this up real quick here for any of you guys who are just now joining us. Hold on, just give me 1 sec. Unshare, reshare. Okay. So shout out to Heather because this was her idea. So here it is. So if we want, we can start kind of looking at this. So here it is. And we need to start at some point going through the parameters in a preliminary list. Now, here's what I have. I have guys and girls. We can use different words. I didn't know if it should be men, women, male, female, dudes, ladies, whatever. Just whatever you guys want to use different, because what we're going to do is have we're going to eventually have to say that there's a number, like a limit, right? But we're going to try to create, and I don't know, does anyone remember how many people they had in the real world house? Was it like 5 at a time? So we're going to try to actually go through what would it be like if we had this happen, and we're going to try to make this happen in our imaginations. But we have to start with the larger pool of suspects / convicted criminals, and then what we'll do is we'll end up having a vote, is what I'm thinking. So as far as parameters, here's some of the things I was thinking. Parameters, I was thinking that they need to still be alive, right? Because you can't be on the show if you're dead. So I'll put that one. Let me know if you guys have other ideas. We'll just do this just to be safe. And they must be either a suspect. Let's see. In Wendy's case, for example, unindicted. Oh my God. Unindicted co-conspirator. At the very least. So in other words, they can be convicted. They could have been acquitted, mistrial. But in other words, this can't just be people who, whatever. So what do you guys think of that? Okay, there were 5 guys. So this is what we have to get to. 5 guys and 5 girls. That's what we have to be able to get to. And we're going to pick our house for this. Yep, the interrogation tapes are the audition. Flash fan, have you never heard of MTV show Real World? So it's like where the show on MTV where they had people that lived in a house and they just slept with each other and what else? Shenanigans, right? Literally. Maybe look up the real show, or if any of you guys in the chat want to kind of explain it maybe better than I can. But this was Heather's idea of what if there was a real world but true crime edition. So for example, all the different suspects, criminals, whatever, right? I'm not trying to suggest anybody, so I'm not naming names. That we imagine the show, but with that, right? That's what we're making happen. Yeah, imagine Real Housewives, but if all those women all lived together in one house for how long did they have to do it? Was it 6 months? I don't remember. They had to all imagine if you took all those housewives, but they all had to live together in one house for a certain period of time, and they weren't allowed to have any outside contact with the outside world, or I don't even think they were allowed to leave the house. Yeah. There you go. They fought with each other, mostly got very drunk and cried. Everyone cried a lot. Yeah, accurate. Do y'all remember how long they were there? Now, of course, that's going to be a factor because, with the list I'm sure that we will come up with, give them a week and how many people will still be alive. Really, it's more it's really kind of more like Real World meets Survivor, right? Because will anyone even live? So the idea would be, though, for you guys to give suggestions for who you would want to see in this house situation, guys and girls. And then we will eventually try to do a vote where we can winnow it down, right? And then get their finals. So 5 guys and 5 girls. So So yeah, so just feel free to let me know in the chat who you would like to see. We will add them to the list because this is just the prelims. So again, these are the parameters, right? They have to be alive and they have to be at the very least a suspect or like an unindicted co-conspirator all the way up through convicted or acquitted or whatever, right? Okay, so now we'll go back to the, hold on Sherry share. Back to this. So yes, indeed.
I have that start.
We ruled him out or not?
Nobody's ruled out.
I don't think Charlie would have done it, by the way. But he's one of these. He's a real rich guy. He's got friends on both sides of the tracks, and he's real street smart. He's always trading and stuff like that. And got this buddy that's in the special forces, and so he's like a dentist, but he's hanging out with guys that different social class actually, and kind of antisocial, impulsive, angry, fiercely protective of Wendi. And I've heard him say, "I'd like to kill that motherfucker." I mean, I've heard him say that so many times. Now, I said that out loud too, and I didn't do it. But there's something different about Charlie. He reminds me of like an antisocial.
Charlie's an older brother.
Yeah,
She's the baby girl.
she's the baby girl.
Is Charlie older or younger than this one up in Albany?
He's the middle kid, I think.
Charlie is?
Yeah. If you had him in front of you, he'd set off your alarm bells.
Okay.
Doesn't mean he did it, but
No, I know that, but why? Okay, all right. So you're basically saying out of, what's his name up in Albany?
and Rob, no way.
He's the oldest?
Yeah, he's the oldest. Yeah.
Out of Charlie, mom, dad, who else is there?
It's just Charlie, mom, dad. Down there. That's
okay.
it. That's it.
All right, out of those three, you're saying Charlie would be the most volatile to do something? What would he do?
He'd get his buddy in the special forces to do this, or he'd get some CD guys down in the Cuban neighborhood or something like that. That's what he would do. Something like that. I mean, the main thing I told him was that Wendi had told me that he had looked into how much it would cost last summer.
Wendi told you that?
She did.
That Charlie had looked into how much it would cost.
Yeah.
So
She said it in a dead serious, chilling, uncomfortable kind of way. Not like I joke around. I like to kill Dan Markel. I'm sick of his shit. That's different. This was like, she said confidentially.
okay.
Again, I commented earlier, but you can kind of see even just from looking at this, right? Isn't there a bit of a likeness though between Dan Markel and Jeff? I mean, again, no two people are going to look identical, but like definitely some similarities, right? In terms of the shape of the face and like the glasses and the color of the hair. And they just have like a little bit of a likeness there.
Is she just you and her one-on-one?
One-on-one, late at night, and
What'd you suppose that
it was late at night, and she told me that.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
It was last summer when her petition to relocate was about to be denied.
Oh, because she wanted to take the kids out.
Well, they want her down there so bad. The family's so enmeshed, so tight, so unhealthy. She's like the baby. So if you met Charlie, he's an unusual guy.
Okay.
No.
So if you just so I understand and I don't misinterpret,
Yeah.
what exactly, how did she say it and what did she exactly say?
Yeah, and I'm pulling it from memory, but something like I said, we're also talking about us, because I was like, would you ever leave under any circumstances? Yeah, I know you don't love it here. Am I going to be dating you for 2 years and you just move? She's like, I can't because of Danny. And she said, yeah, as a matter of fact, something about it would be convenient if Danny wasn't around anymore, but once he doesn't want anything to happen to him or something like that. She said, but Charlie actually looked into like how that would be done and how much it would cost. She might have said, I think, Charlie. I don't remember, but it was chilling. In the moment, I was like, my stomach flipped. I was like, whoa.
The crux of the statement is my brother Charlie has looked into how much it would cost to
take care of somebody. Yeah.
take care of somebody.
This guy has very little empathy. He's just a weird guy.
Okay.
I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying, if you're looking at somebody, you can't miss Charlie.
Okay.
I think that's more likely than a romantic thing.
Well, that's you.
Yeah, it's not me.
The other guy's gone. Zach, wherever
He's gone.
He's gone.
And by the way, make sure that she saw Zach once a week for 20 minutes of sex. I don't know the relationship. I don't know if he gives a shit about Wendy, so I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry. Size. Yeah. said great. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Thanks.
Before I forget, the other thing is that I didn't know about Zach for 9 months and I was with boyfriend for 6. So I was telling him, I've always suspected there's a guy in South Florida I would know about. Maybe that's just a paranoid boyfriend. But I wouldn't believe Wendi when she says I'm with Jeff. You got to start the ground zero. She lies. I mean, there's been a lot of men since it were me. So, I just wonder if there's a guy in South Florida. She always drops out of sight when she's down there. Phone calls not returned. Voicemail.
Did you go down there?
So this I think is interesting. He comments on this a number of times that when she goes to South Florida, it's like she's MIA, right? And that's where her family is. Like she would like she would go down there, and it's like that's why he's thinking like his only explanation to himself is like, well, she's got to have a guy down there, like a boyfriend down there or whatever, because like what's going on. But it's funny because I think it's entirely possible she could have been cheating on him, but also knowing even from his own words about how this family is, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like, you know, doing the family enmeshment thing, right? And in other words, she could have been cheating on him with a dude, or, you know, cheating on him with her family, so to speak, right? In other words, like, you know, not answering her phone and all that, right? MIA.
No, she doesn't let me go. That's why I think there's a guy down there.
Okay. Did Charlie come up here?
Charlie never comes up here.
And how did you meet Charlie then?
Oh, I went to Charlie. I met Charlie one time. I went down there one time for one day. We
Okay.
were in Immokalee and we just drove over and spent an evening with him. So I spent 4 hours for Charlie.
What are you doing in Immokalee? I know where that is.
Yeah, alternative spring break for FSU kids.
Okay.
So they're helping out the farm workers and stuff.
Okay.
So we spent a night in a hot tub with Charlie, and that was it. But I've always told him, I always suspected that, and I'm the paranoid ex-boyfriend, so right. But she goes to South Florida awful lot.
Okay.
She's always a little weird when she comes back, romantically and stuff like that. So I just always kind of suspected. So I wouldn't.
Weird when
Obviously,
she
the connection is now she can go to South Florida.
Right.
I mean,
No, we see that
Oh,
part.
listen to that, right? Let me replay that. There it is, right? There is that. Isn't this just the crux of the matter right here?
romantically and stuff like that. So I just always kind of suspected. So I wouldn't. Obviously, the connection is now she can go to South Florida.
Right.
I mean,
No,
Now she can go to South Florida.
we see that part.
yeah.
Who's this Green Beret? Did you say?
And now I don't know anything about this guy. I just know that on Facebook there's a lot of pictures of him, and Wendy's told me stories about him. He's. I guess the point is that Charlie doesn't just hang out with other dentists. He hangs out with all kinds of people. So it's not like he's some snobby dentist that's not gonna hang out. This guy did 5 years in Afghanistan, so it just popped into my head. Like,
Charlie did?
no, Charlie's friend did.
Was Charlie in the military?
Nah, he's dentist. He's a dentist. So,
Okay.
but when Charlie talks, he talks about cross section of people. I mean, he has friends all across the spectrum, including, you know, some unsavory characters.
Let's go back to the statement that she made. I just want to clarify the stuff. She tells you, she goes, yeah, my brother, I think the phone was going off there. My brother has checked, or my brother has something along those lines, has inquired as to how much it would cost.
Something like that. I can't give you an exact quote. It might have been, I think Charlie, here's an example. She might have said, I think Charlie might have looked into how much it costs to actually have that done. You know, he's down there in Miami, or just, you know, it's not unheard of. Something like that.
All right.
It just had crossed Charlie's mind. Bottom line, it occurred to Charlie that was one way to take care of the problem.
And he wants to help sis?
He is fiercely protective of her. He wants her back in South Florida so bad. The whole family does. She never, you know, you guys know the background. She never wanted to be here, ever. I mean, she came here with Markel. They're supposed to be here a year, then move on. He had a job at Miami. He was an asshole, so he lost it. He said, no, go back to FSU and stay there. They're stuck here. So he's doing great. He's the Sandy Doenberg professor of law and all that stuff. Wendy gets a shitty job that she doesn't really like, doesn't like the area. She's doing her best to make it work. She hates it. Never wanted to live here. Never thought she'd live here.
This is all from her, right?
Yeah, it's all straight from her. Are you kidding me? I'm her boyfriend trying to convince her this is a great place to stay. Get a new attitude. This is a daily conversation, you know? I'm like, I love Tallahassee. Moved here on purpose, you know? So it's a daily conversation. Like, look, I was pretty, you know? That kind of stuff, you know?
And her whole thing is, no, I still don't like
Because
it.
I'm trying, but it's, you know, I didn't choose it.
Okay.
I didn't choose it, and that makes it hard. I heard that daily.
I didn't choose it, and that makes it hard. Okay.
And she loves Miami. She just loves it. When we're down there, she just lights up. It's a whole different thing.
Is it Miami or Fort Lauderdale?
It's Coral Springs, but it's Miami.
Okay.
It's Miami. Yeah.
So, so a daily thing is you're trying to tell her how great this area is and so forth, and she's basically putting it down, and that, you know, I'm stuck here. My husband didn't want it or couldn't keep the job at UM.
He
Was it
screwed
UM or Nova?
It was UM. It was UM. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he screwed that up.
Yeah. He was so abrasive. I'm sure you heard a lot about that. He was so abrasive that they're like, "You're a great scholar. We don't want to put up with your butt every day. So get out of here." You know?
Okay.
I mean, he had to work pretty hard to lose that job.
Okay. Okay. What was the reason? I mean, I know that there was some type of contention, and I don't know if it was the child rearing, or do you know that?
I can tell you anything you want to know about that. I've got every legal document that.
No. What did she personally tell you?
Tell me about child rearing.
Well, the reason for their divorce. How did she get to this point?
Oh, Danny was. Give you a couple examples of Markel. They would drive from here to Miami as a family, or this is before they had kids even, but even as a family, both. And Danny would work on his computer. He had one of those converters, so he could plug your laptop in. Wendy was required to drive, and Wendy was required not. That's okay.
Sorry. Yes, sir. Say again? Okay. Do you have Couch's number?
That ringtone.
Yeah, I'm gonna have him. I'm busy right now. I'm gonna have him meet, and then I'm gonna talk to him when they're done downstairs or wherever they do the buckle. Are you already on the second floor? Okay, just get Couch. He's waiting for you. Thanks.
And Markel's rule was, you may not speak from Tallahassee to Miami.
From Tallahassee to Miami.
And she said she would be like, "Dang, I'm working." Just a total control freak, emotionally abusive, controlled the finances, just ran her shit. And I don't know if he hit her or not, but I can tell
Well, let's remember, he's saying all this because this is what he heard from Wendy.
you, if you just raise your voice to her like that, she flinches like she's got her ass kicked yesterday. So I've wondered about violence. I don't know. She says no, but people lie. Wendy lies a lot. So he was pretty mean to her. And as she went to get married, every friend she had was begging her, "Don't marry this guy. He's the biggest asshole we've ever met." And she got caught up in the Harvard law and elitism and all this kind of stuff. And she was in a bad place. Made a bad decision, got married to a guy. I just got divorced last year, so I understand.
Oh, you did?
I got married to the wrong woman too, so I get it. That's how we bonded, actually. We picked the wrong people before. So it was a bad marriage from day one. I mean, pretty much. According to her, at least. By the second year, it was awful. And then having kids will fix it. You know, people try that. So he was also an absent father. I mean, he came home 9 o'clock every night, she claims, and I would play with the kids for 10 minutes. That was it. She did everything, kind of like a house slave. And then when he went to go get divorced, he tried to get 100% custody of the kids. So if you read these legal documents that he's filed, they'll give, I don't know if you're better, but they give you insight into like, it's pretty crazy.
I haven't had the time, but I will.
Yeah, it's a lot of lunacy shines through.
But I'm sure he had his side of it too.
I'm sure he did, and well, that's what I wonder about is with all the stuff I talked about with Wendy with me. I mean, he was controlling. Well, maybe he's trying to keep his wife in control. I don't know. You know.
Right.
But you must have heard he's not. Don't want to speak ill of the dead. He wasn't well liked. It's bizarre to open up the paper and see all these comments about how a great guy he was. No, they're just friends with Jewish. It's all Jewish.
Oh,
it's all Jewish.
okay.
Yeah,
You're hovering around.
I'm an honorary Jew, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know what they call me.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know the truth about the marriage, but I do know that it was really, really hard on Wendy. And when we got to the legal stuff, he was vicious. He was really vicious. So
Anything? Did she ever tell you anything concerning any incidents when Danny and Charlie were together, or Danny and any other family? I mean, was it kind of like, hey, you know, Danny, you sleep over here in the doghouse or something. You don't.
No. It's more like the family hate. This is why she didn't introduce me to her parents. She said last time that it was so awkward because it went so badly because they all hated Danny. Charlie hated Danny. Her parents hated Danny.
Do you know why?
It's crazy.
He is in person. He is so arrogant. He is so unlikable. He would just talk down to people. He was one of these Harvard guys.
Okay.
And it was just like, when I met him in an awkward meeting, I was early. I was late. He was early, and we met for the first time. He insulted me 3-4 times in sentences, just in subtle, like haughty, snobby kind of ways. Like, "Oh, are you a lawyer?" You know, and just little comments here and there. You know, so he was passive aggressive about it. He wasn't in your face. He wasn't yelling, but he insulted. He would just tell you, "Say you're stupid."
Okay.
I mean, that's just how he talked. He thought he
It's really funny because a lot of people have completely different impressions of him. You know, and the other thing too is like Dan Markel was Canadian too. So like, you know, I mean, I don't know if there was a cultural thing and maybe, you know, just considering there's like people got completely opposite reads of him. Maybe there were things that were like sarcasm that were, or jokes that were not always understood. I mean, I don't know, but it is interesting. But also the other thing I wanted to know, right, is like saying that like, you know, the best answer as to why Wendy's family hated, quote unquote, hated him, right, which is such a strong word, is like, what did he say? Like elitist, arrogant, or whatever. But the other thing is like, well, Wendy's family is elitist, right? Wendy's family is arrogant. So if anything, you would think that if that was even true about Dan, that they would have been like, oh, great, you fit right in. You know what I mean?
It's basically subtly insulting you.
Right.
Yeah, he did. I mean, as far as Wendy and him, he did all kinds of little things to intimidate her. I don't know if he knew he was doing it, but she was scared of him. I would go with her I would go with her to functions that he was at to kind of reassure her and run interference because she would get heart palpitations and stuff around him. And it seemed completely out of the scope of normal. I got an ex-wife. I can get in front of her. Not a big deal.
Right.
For her, it was like, will you please come with me to soccer practice or whatever it was? Oh, swim lessons 3 weeks ago. Will you come with me to swim lessons because Danny's going to be there? And she would just freak out.
Did you go?
I mean, doesn't that almost sound to you though, guys, like she wanted to instigate something, right? Like her, you know, this reminds me so much of other people. I mean, the list would be really long of other criminal defendants and people who do the same thing, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm scared. Will you please come with me or whatever, right? They manipulate someone and like, this whole story, right? And again, that way you can also perpetuate this story of like turning yourself into a victim and Danny's abusive and all that, right? Like we even heard her do that in her interrogation, right? But you could also see that it being a way of manipulating him to go, like it's crazy to think about, right? Because we know he was not abusive. And like, it's just, you know, oh, will you please come with me because Danny's gonna be there. So you have to come with me. It's like, right? It's just interesting. You guys see what I mean? Yeah. Flash wants some ice cream. Yeah, I was going to try to give examples. There's so many examples of we've seen other people do this. You know, and then knowing that it's just going to create an awkward situation between the two of them. And of course, they're only hearing both of them are only getting stories from Wendy, right? Could be just, you know, making lies up. He even says, and he has said, and he'll say it more too, right? Like that she lied about literally everything. Again, kind of reminds me of Ezra there. And yeah, it really there are a lot of overlaps with Ezra with the psychology there. Anyway, okay.
I did go.
Was he there?
Yeah, he was there.
Was everything okay between you and him?
Well, yeah, everything was fine. We kind of moved through a phase where at first we were real friendly, shaking hands, and then we got like, hey, how you doing? I'm not going to shake your hand. We're on different sides of this thing, you know, that kind of thing.
I mean,
But
yeah,
it was
another thing too, right? You've got two of the guys, like these two individuals, Jeff and Dan, who've probably never thrown a punch in their life, right? They're intellectuals, like he's even said, they're professors, you know, a lawyer and a psychologist. It's like you need Wendy wants Jeff to come for protection. Like it makes literally no sense.
always reasonable.
Slim practice nonetheless.
Did she introduce you to him
She did.
as your boyfriend, your current boyfriend?
No.
Friend?
I don't remember what she said. This is Jeff, I think.
Okay.
That was a point of connection between us. She didn't call me her boyfriend Doe very recently. So
Oh, okay.
I think she might have had other ones. I think that might have been the issue.
Okay.
Maybe Dan Sack was also her boyfriend. I don't know.
I think
Okay.
that's accurate, Candace.
We already got his phone number.
Yes.
Is there anything else I just don't think it's-
He did say he was willing to give buckle if you need it or want it. Is that something you want to do?
I think so. I can call him back. We have his phone number.
It's taking a second on that.
And the guy drives in from Georgia, Tennessee, whatever, and comes straight here from what I understand, what you told me.
Yeah, I didn't do it. It's probably give it a second here. I guess the thing that keeps popping up in my head is, don't write this down, but just so you know, if you're investigating, I'm shocked how easily Wendi lies to my face. I've been dating 25 years.
Here we go. You'd be shocked how easily Wendi lies to my face. Let me back this up.
I guess the thing that keeps popping up in my head is, don't write this down, but just so you know, if you're investigating, I've been shocked how easily Wendi lies to my face. I've been dating 25 years. I'm not an experienced man out there, but her and Charlie both have this sociopathic kind of thing where it doesn't seem to bug them at all. So if you had her in front of you for 9 hours,
Are her parents from the United States?
they are first generation. I think their parents were Holocaust kind of things. So yeah. And they're weird, but I don't ever kind of imagine being involved. But they are strange people.
Right.
I mean, in 9 months of dating her, they probably said 20 words to me.
Okay.
This is not coming up.
Okay. I tell you what, let's just do this.
Okay.
When you get your paper copies,
Okay.
send them to Corey for me.
I will.
And then
If you can give me an email address, I can send it to you tonight.
either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that way.
My name and contact
That'll
number,
just-
my email's on there as well.
And all we basically are doing is we're substantiating. We do this with everybody. You're not the first in this
Of
case.
course. Of course.
We're just substantiating. This was his whereabouts according to his financial records. He was traveling. He was not in town.
Yeah.
Yes, he's her former boyfriend, but this is where he was at according to his financial records.
Of course.
So that's all we basically want to do. And it's basically we eliminate, and then we get down to who we're really looking at.
Yeah. I got you.
You understand. It's not brain surgery or anything, but I'm trying to think of anything else I could ask you at this time, and
I'd be wanting to come back. I just don't want to spend more time with Wendi if there's anything.
Here's another thing that I typically ask people. Is there anything that you didn't disclose that maybe we didn't ask that you think is of note or is important? Because a lot of times you've thought about this just as much as we have.
That's all
I
I
mean,
thought
you
about
got a
it.
whole trip to think
Yeah.
about and analyze all this stuff.
It's a pretty screwed up family.
but I'm trying to, everybody's probably
Wow.
in the same brainwave. For murder?
Doesn't seem likely to me.
No, but I'm asking
Good night.
your opinion, not,
Good sleep.
not,
I can't see the parents being involved. I got the email and I thought of Charlie within a couple moments.
Okay.
That's what I thought of.
Charlie personally or Charlie hiring somebody?
Hiring somebody. No way, Charlie. No way.
He's great.
Can't,
Wouldn't do it.
couldn't pull the trigger.
I don't know about that. I don't know him that well. I was telling him I used to work.
I'm going to back this up. This is right here. It's so crazy, right? This is 3 days after the murder. And he's like, Charlie would hire somebody. But what's interesting is the part when he asks about would Charlie not be able to pull the trigger. Let me rewind this. This is interesting.
That's what I thought of.
Charlie personally or Charlie hiring somebody?
Hiring somebody. No way, Charlie. No way.
Can't,
Wouldn't do it.
couldn't pull the trigger.
I don't know about that. I don't know him that well. I was telling him I used to work juvenile justice a little bit in forensic psychiatry. He gave me the creeps. But I could see him hiring. I could see him. You don't follow the rules, man. I mean, that's how he lives his life. He goes to South America, sees prostitutes. I mean, he does his own thing.
Is he married?
No, he's got 3 girlfriends at all times.
Okay.
Rotates them, and they don't know each other exists, and that's not a crime.
Right.
But the ease with which she did it was no empathy for other people. That's
Kind of
what
a deceitful person to start with.
sure. The whole family, really.
Whole family, really? Wow.
And I just have this, I guess everything you didn't ask, and I said it before, I'll just say it one more time. When I looked at that agenda, when I started poking around, when I started looking at my calendar and examining Wendy's behavior, all this kind of stuff, I don't think Wendy would do this. I don't think she's capable. No way. I mean, but there could be people you don't even know about unless you investigate very closely, would be my guess. Because there's some weird patterns of behavior when she's in South Florida. I don't know if you know how often she's gone there, but I have it on my calendar. And it is like 30-40% of the time when she's not at work, she's in South Florida.
Where's the kids? Down there with her? Or?
Well, like when Daddy has them for a week, she'll go, she'll take them with them, she'll drive. But it's like, it's a big problem in our relationship. Like when she's got time off, I want to spend it with her, she's in South Florida.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
All right.
When you think of anything else, just give me one second. And I even wonder about another guy in town. I mean, there's just been so much deceit that I wouldn't be shocked. I was telling him she has a lot of free time. Teaches 4 hours a week. Other than that, she's on her own schedule.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, that's enough for today.
Okay, great.
If there's something else comes up, give Corey a call, or
I will.
we might have to call you back.
Call me back if you need me.
Okay, buddy. Good to meet you.
Appreciate it.
Right, I'll walk you down.
Okay, great.
And they do. So that we're going to have his next interview, which I think is just from 2 days later. We're back, July 23rd, 2014. Back for more. And
So they had a appointment here. Okay.
Where do you want me to sit, man?
You could just sit right here, and I'll sit right here with you.
Made a couple of notes I've been thinking.
Okay. Do you have a credit?
this is where, again, really funny. I was just mentioning Ezra. And again, it's really funny because Ezra has a lot of similarities to Wendi, but her boyfriend, Jason Mangle, has a lot of similarities to Jeff. And one of the things is how, same thing, come back for the next time. They've brought a list and made notes and same exact thing. I've got a list here. It's really funny. I don't know that I've ever seen that before, apart from those two guys. So
Credit card?
I do.
The one that you sent me the email
Got it right here.
on? Can I just make a copy of that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to charge anything to you.
That's fine. That's fine.
But I just got to show.
You can't trust the police to hold on your credit card.
Well, here's the thing. Your account doesn't necessarily show that you are the account holder. There's nothing in that
Gotcha.
correspondence.
Gotcha.
So I'm just going to make a copy of this. And really what this is doing is just working to exclude you as a suspect.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can also get
You've
you
pretty much done that.
Well, I thought so. I'm sure my cell phone records would show that too.
Well, I kind of showed this to my boss and they're like, well, let's just go ahead and verify that he has this account number.
Sure. Gotcha.
And you weren't locking on to somebody else.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory stuff, I know.
Gotcha. Well, no, you guys gotta be careful.
Yeah, we got to check everything out. So I'll be right back. I'll make a copy of this and then I'll come right back.
I just thought of a few things that might be useful to you.
Okay. Sorry, got a million things going on here.
Sure you do.
No, is this just kind of like theory kind of stuff, or is it just kind of you had some time to think about what I talked to you about?
What it's been is I had a 14-day break while she was in South Florida. Then last 7 days, I haven't heard from her yet. So we're at day 22, 23. No longer under the spell. I'm starting to see a few things a little more clearly.
Okay.
It's been a month since we were intimate, a month since she got.
this is like almost verbatim what we heard from Jason Mangle. It's pretty crazy, right? That the time away from the person, from the girl, in these two cases, Wendi and Ezra, like the time away, right? And it's like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see things, right? And Interesting.
kind of control me that way. So it's I'm starting to clear up a little bit, man. I'm under the spell. So there's just some things I think you should know. I'll try to go quick. I know you're busy.
Okay.
But
I appreciate you.
first, there was two quick things. You probably already have these, but there's a professor in the department that's totally obsessed with her. You probably already got that.
Who is that?
He's got really bad teeth. I don't know his name. He called her goddess, and he would send her inappropriate texts. I can't imagine that Wendi wouldn't have mentioned that, but just to make sure you had it. He's an older guy, probably in his 60s. I don't know his name, but he called her goddess. And he's no fan of Markel.
I think I know who you're talking about. I haven't talked to him specifically, but
Seems unlikely, but I figured you want everything.
Okay.
And there was this was one that I thought of. There was a student in the fall that was really inappropriate with her. She forwarded a couple of emails to me, and he actually kissed her on the mouth during a teacher-student meeting in her office. That was kind of weird. So I don't know his name or anything else, but there was the student that, if you're looking for obsession, that was strange for a student to lean in and kiss a professor on the mouth, you know?
yeah.
So that's just, when you would know the name, she forwarded the email, she was disturbed, but I don't know, you know. If you really needed it, I have that email somewhere. Might have been a cocky student trying to pick up his hot prof, I don't know, you know, but
If you can find it, just, you got my email address.
yeah,
just
would you like to see that one? Okay, I'll
Sure,
send you an email. I think his address is on it.
Yeah, we haven't excluded anyone really at this point.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay, a couple other things. I've been seeing a therapist since about, I don't have any major mental health problems, but just to try to deal with Wendi, I was seeing my therapist I used to see when I was going through my divorce. So
This is
I was thinking about what we
guys.
talked about in there. I mean, I've spent like $2,000 on therapy trying to figure out how to deal with Wendi. She's been really hard to handle. And I realized I never put it together, but he for months has been concerned that she's a sociopath. And I didn't tell you guys that before. I still love Wendi. I was under her spell. She called me tomorrow. I'd probably go back to her. But there's a lot of stuff that, as I look back, is really strange. To give you a couple examples. Well, I guess one of the things I worry about is Wendi has this public persona. And she's a very good actress. And she's very charismatic and all this kind of stuff. And she knows a lot of people, you know, everybody in Tallahassee knows Wendi. You probably discovered that already. I mean, she's in every social circle, you know, she's very social butterfly-esque and out there and stuff. But in terms of people that know her intimately, have spent like a lot of time with her and have seen behind the curtain, you know, I think it's Markel, me, and maybe that Sack guy in the last 12, 13 years. I mean, she doesn't, you know what I mean? So some of the stuff I had seen was pretty crazy stuff. I mean, no sense of guilt, no empathy, hypersensitivity to criticism. When I said, hey, you cheated, I mean, that's fucked up. She would not apologize. She would not say she felt bad. She would not say she made a mistake. She's a total pathological liar. And I feel bad saying all this because I still love her. She has these flaws and I would have stayed with her. But if you look back at Markel's legal documents, he's constantly talking about her systematic pattern of deception, how she lies all the time. And she told me once, I have a really hard time telling the truth when it's inconvenient or unpleasant. I lie all the time. I mean, she said that to me. So I never would have thought that Wendi was, I know she didn't pull the trigger or anything like that. But the more I thought about it, how much I was manipulated, how much of a spell I was
And
under.
here it is. Remember, like I said earlier, guys, that as he reflects on it, his impression about her potential involvement changes. And boy, oh boy, is there, we're going to learn a lot.
All that kind of stuff. I feel kind of creeped out right now that not, I don't know if she's a suspect, not the paper says she isn't. But as an accessory, it makes a lot of sense to me at a certain point. So, and I don't know that many people that know her that well.
Mm-hmm.
When you see behind the curtain, she's a total train wreck. My psychologist was saying, man, she just meets the checklist of a narcissistic sociopath. Go down the list. So
Meets the checklist of a narcissistic sociopath.
obviously she's already a person
Juan, are you watching?
of interest in all that kind of stuff, but I thought you should know that I'm a mental health myself.
Right.
So I never saw that when I was under the spell, but I've had people trying to convince me for 3-4 months, you're dating someone who has real severe sociopathic tendencies.
Right.
So high functioning and attractive, but still, bad.
Yeah.
So that's something I just thought I should tell you.
Sure.
Well, I just noticed that Markel, everybody's told me what a nice guy Markel is, and I thought he was Satan, because in our household, I mean, he's a psychopathic, stalking, emotionally abusive, controlling jerk. That's how Wendi thinks of him.
So now he's realizing that, remember, we were just talking about this, how his impression of Dan Markel was really probably from Wendi's mouth, right? And now it's dawning on him.
And that's her assessment of him.
Yes.
Do you have the same assessment of him?
I did when I was with her, because I didn't know, I just believed her.
Right.
But no one else says, what I hear from everybody else is he's an arrogant dick. As far as academic, there's a lot of professors that are arrogant,
Sure.
But he's a good man. That's what I hear people saying. He was a good father. He was a good man, and he was really upset with Wendi. Starting to understand why. I mean, there's some timing things here. I hope this is all wrong, and you find some disgruntled student that shot him. I don't want Wendi and her kids to have a good life in South Florida. I still love them. I still care about them. I miss them. I'm pretty heartbroken over all this. But if you want information, I had some.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You have to remember, though, this is still really fresh, right? Now, the third and last of the interviews is actually from 2015. So it'll be interesting to see, again, over time, right? Away from her, your perspective changes. It'll be really interesting to see the difference. I would imagine we'll probably hear something different then, right? But I think at the same time, that's also him being really self-aware, right? Because when you're still fresh in that, again, still just trying to get out of the spell, but fresh out of a breakup, like he's even said, right? You're not thinking clearly. I think that's just him being honest, right? Like if she came back and did whatever she does to work her stupid Wendi magic, he would be like, okay, like we see this all the time with people. But the longer you are away from that, right, then the easier it is to resist.
Things to say.
Well, he does.
So we have this big fight in Gainesville.
They do talk about that at some point. They do bring that up, the third sibling. Yeah, they do.
And I'm really confronted her. I'm really hard on her. I'm pissed because I feel like I've been conned, because she's been calling me her boyfriend and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know exactly what the relationship was with Zach, but I found out enough that it was very clear that she was busted, that she was juggling two guys in some form or fashion. I don't know the details.
Yeah.
I got the impression I was boyfriend number 2 is why I was pissed. I mean, there's no picture on the Facebook page. I noticed there wasn't even a picture of me in her house. And that's when I got really, really upset. I was like, come on, we've been dating 9 months. This is bizarre, So I had it out with her in Gainesville. And then she went to South Florida for 14 days. The whole time she's down there, she's miserable and not that available. But we're talking about future-oriented stuff. We're talking about trying to get back together and desperate to see each other. It sucks that we're separated in this bad situation. I can show you the text, like, can't imagine my life without you. God, I fucking miss you. I mean, it's like exactly.
Now we're going to get into the weird circumstances surrounding the period and the exact week of the homicide, where, remember, it seemed kind of like maybe there was something a little bit fishy going on, right? Like maybe Wendi was hoping she would be able to frame him, right? Set him up as looking like he did it. And like that was part of the plan, right?
She gets back to town, we go on a date, and I said it was awkward, but we were holding each other, we're holding hands. There was a future orientation still. We're gonna spend a lot of time together and work this out. That's what we had decided to do. And that was last Monday.
And just to reiterate, if that's the case, which is what it's really gonna look like, right? If that's the case, there's no way around it except that she knew this was gonna happen and he was condoning it, right? If she's actually like if in fact Wendi's role in the whole thing, right? They had split up their assignments. Wendi's role was to do your best to set it up so that Jeff can look like he did it, and all that. Jeff can get the blame, blah blah. That right there is knowledge and also being complicit, right? I mean, that right there. So
it gets really strange from there, and it makes me suspicious. Maybe I'm just paranoid, but then on Tuesday, she called me at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. She said, I'm locked out of my house. We're going to see each other that night. And I say, okay, locked out of your house. What are you going to do? I try to get a key, but I probably need a locksmith. So
I remember the part in her interview where she said she made 1 million copies of her keys. So this is weird, right?
well, I'll come out and we'll just hang out on your front porch and have our date there.
Yes.
She's like super sweet and friendly, and it was like everything was okay, actually. She was like, I would love it if you would come keep me company, see in a little bit, call each other baby, this kind of stuff. When I showed up to yoga, and it ended up that she got into our house, we went to yoga together instead, and we just met there. When I showed up to yoga at 7, something was completely different. She was gone. I mean, and that might have been just her talking to her friend and says dump him, and she decides it, and that's it. It had nothing to do with your case. But I would be really curious to know, if I was you, who she talked to between 3 and 7, because something happened where I seem to be irrelevant all of a sudden. And this is after 15, 16 days of her wanting us to, let's just work this out. It just turned in a second. And then it gets a little stranger from there, actually.
I think that it came out at some point in Charlie's trial in the timeline that what had happened here that made her change, and she seemed all of a sudden pissed off, whatever. I'm pretty sure that that's when the initial attempt, when they had the hit people go out there and then they were unsuccessful. And I wonder if that's the news that she got before yoga. But yeah, we'll keep.
This was Tuesday preceding the 18th.
Exactly. Anyway, so I'm never.
When did she send you the email?
That was that
recite
night.
it
That
from
was that
memory.
Tuesday night. That was Tuesday
Okay.
night, which I suspect was already in her head because
Well, that may have been, she maybe came to a finalization that she was going to do that.
she may have. I mean, I don't want to make this all about me. There's bigger things here, but I did notice some things. I mean, so she's done with me, right? Okay, I'm looking at her. It's not right. Something's wrong here. I walk out to the car, and it's really awkward, small talk. I can tell she thinks everything she's done. But she asked me if I was going to be here this weekend. Now she's done. Why does she give a shit if I'm here Friday? She asked me directly,
Here
"Are you
it
going to be
is.
here Friday?"
It's so creepy.
And I said,
And I can't-
maybe it's up in the air. And it wasn't up in the air. I just didn't want to seem desperate, and I was just going to stay here and not take my trip if Wendy was willing to see me, is what that was about. But she was really interested. Oh, why is it up in the air? Oh, because, his end or something. Oh, okay, well, okay, talk to you
And
later.
this was prior to her sending you the.
Prior to sending me the email, and the last thing I ever heard from Wendy, last words I exchanged with Wendy were, "Are you going to be here Friday?" I just thought you should know that. It may mean nothing, but it was kind of strange to me. Then the no contact order was also kind of strange to me. Usually you just send someone an email and say, "Hey, I need some time to think." She was very strict about that no contact thing. It was almost like she didn't want to be in front of me. I just busted her for
Well, she
that.
probably didn't want you to try and talk her out of it.
Maybe. I don't know.
That was my thinking.
Maybe. Or maybe she knew something was going to go down and didn't want me in front of her because I read her pretty well. And I just busted her on a whole host of lies,
Okay.
This probably sounds crazy speculative. I just wanted to give you the information. So that struck me as kind of strange. Oh, I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. This was just weird. This is just stuff. Have you seen this picture? Probably seen it in media accounts.
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at that picture, I don't have kids. My friends that have kids show up and say, "Look how narcissistic that picture is." Who
So
looks good in
this
that
is
picture?
Wendy's profile
Not
on Facebook, and she changed it the evening before the murder.
Wendy's kids. Wendy. And this comes out Thursday night. She changes this.
This is the one that you said she was taunting you with, or
Well,
whatever,
maybe.
or you thought she
My other
was.
friend, the other speculation in the community, which is not for me, is like Wendy looks good, but this is a Photoshop picture. Her dad does photography stuff, So she looks way better than normal in this picture. If you knew you were going to be all over the media, that's how Wendy would want to look. So that may sound crazy to you, but
Right. And again, this was changed to the night before the murder, right? So again, little hints here that he's offering that show prior knowledge and involvement.
just something to think about. I mean, when you want to picture your kids look good. There's other pictures in this photo set where the kids looking at the camera and are smiling and look great.
Right.
So it's just weird. And I'm not trying to do your job for you to be like an FBI profiler, but it was a thing.
Right.
And that one of the last things would be,
And the
still
thing
is,
is,
I don't want to be the description.
these little observations, and oftentimes we see in cases, right? Sometimes these little observations offer a clue that can break the whole thing wide open, right? So I appreciate the candor and the people like him who are so observational, right? And have good memories also. Same thing with Jason Mangle and the Ezra McCandless trial, where they are invaluable. Like as the Ezra trial, Jason Mangle, I don't think they could have had a case without him. Now here, they could have had it probably, they could have had a case without Jeff because there were so many other people involved, right? There was enough other stuff going on. However, at least as it pertains to Wendi, if indeed she is charged and goes to trial, I guarantee you it will be a similar thing where like he's going to be completely instrumental in offering, these key details from that time period. Because you can't ask her family unless one of them, maybe Charlie, or unless somebody decides to, cooperate and get to strike some sort of deal. But, like he even said, right, like nobody really knew her except like maybe her family. I think he says maybe her family, but and him, because she had this facade. So yeah, again, just really appreciate the level of detail and just being so observational and offering all this information.
An ex-boyfriend, but it's really strange to me that she's never contacted me. It's very strange. We were co-parenting for 6 months. We've talked about Danny for hundreds of hours. No one knows that case better than, as far as her friends, than me. It's really, really odd. I mean, your ex-wife and you are estranged, you're fighting, you're separated, her dad gets hit by a car. You pick up the phone and call usually, So there's a rigidity to this no contact thing. It strikes me as very, very odd. She is, I know you said, hey, I wouldn't take that personally.
I agree that it is odd, right? Because it's like, if you think about, well, usually when you have these no contact orders or like protective orders, right? It's when you've got someone who won't stay away, right? Like you've got, it could be abusive or whatever, right? Or someone who's like stalker behavior. But like, in other words, he didn't need that, right? Like we've already heard from him, I believe, and maybe also in Wendy's, like previous times when she said like, I need a break, blah, blah, like he did that. Like he, or no, maybe it was from Jane, actually, Wendy's friend, who said that like even after the murder, he reached out to Jane and not Wendi, right? Because he was following the thing. So it's like not necessary, right? But you have to wonder, did she do this just to try to make it seem like he's a more jealous, obsessive boyfriend than he really was, right? Like again, the no contact order when it completely wasn't necessary, so over the top. But that's what he's expressing. But it seems like he hasn't quite maybe figured out like why she went that route. But again, to me, it looks like, again, trying to paint a certain picture, right? To make him seem like he could be involved. He's violent. We already heard her say that in her interrogation, right? She said, not physically, right? But she claimed that everybody was abusive to her, right? Like in terms of Dan and Jeff, I think she said he was emotionally abusive and, possessive, jealous, so just get that no contact order just to try to back up your story, I guess, right?
Personally, we're done. I get
Right.
it, But what I am taking it as is, it almost looks guilty to me. It looks really strange. Why wouldn't you call for putting these kids to bed for the last 6 months? And then ride around in a minivan with them. You care about these kids. She knows that. Even if we're over, not a text message, not a phone call. It looks strange to me. So.
Right. And even more so in the recent events.
Well, that's what I mean, is that when that happened, I didn't expect to hear from her that day. You guys had her on, into the night. I know all that kind of stuff. But I still haven't heard a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That just is very, very strange. Maybe she's just a cold-blooded, damaged, needy woman that decided she was done with me, maybe. But if there's any interest in her at all, there's a lot of sociopathic stuff here, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
The ease with which she lies is really disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I had to say. I just thought you want to know that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I got you here. I did want to.
The ease with which she lies is really disturbing. Listen to that again.
With me, maybe. But if there's any interest in her at all, there's a lot of sociopathic stuff here, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
The ease with which she lies is really disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I had to say. I just thought you want to know that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I got you here. I did want to run down on some of your, I printed out your your stuff that you sent me here. Let me just flip to it and try and find it. Okay. And this actually is a little bit better to kind of have something tangible to look at to kind of see where you are and where you were going and stuff like that.
They're a little out of order because the one they cleared, but yeah.
Okay, so this day's end was actually, even though it says the 18th, I talked to the clerk and she said you were there on the 17th.
Yeah, Thursday night.
Thursday night, which is what you said.
Yeah.
You know, so this is mainly done for exclusionary
I got it.
purposes.
I'm not worried.
So I got you here. And then when did this transaction occur? Like it doesn't have a time. Can you give me kind of more of a specific time?
Thomasville?
Yes.
That would have been on the way there, so 9, 10 o'clock.
PM.
Yeah.
And do you remember what time you got into the day's end?
Before midnight. Let's think about it. I left here around 8. I wasn't going to drive past midnight. It might have been 12:15 or something, but I went from here to South Atlanta, average of 75 or something like that.
And then
Shout out to the ATL.
$37 in gas on Friday.
And where's that at?
At Ayersville, Georgia.
Yeah, that would have been somewhere between Atlanta and Tennessee.
And this was actually on Friday.
It was.
Okay, so even though this one says transaction date, it was close enough to the 18th that it may not have went through until after midnight.
You know what? It might have been 12:05 when he pulled the trigger on it or something.
Okay. Well, you just said anywhere between 12 and 12:15 you got there.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you said you got out of here about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it was about almost exactly 9. Just as a thought experiment. I would have stopped in front of a truck for this woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mature 42-year-old guy who's dated a lot of women. I just got caught into the spell. So that combined with just I think that's kind of unusual when you have 2 boyfriends. I think that takes a certain lack of conscience, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how easily she did that.
Mm-hmm.
Just makes me wonder. I really hope she's not involved at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she is, but I mean, time will tell.
I don't think she'd be directly involved, but as an accessory at this point, I gotta tell you, that's in my head. So I just wanted you to know that. I don't know. You know a lot more data than I do.
Sure, yeah. Well, if you don't have anything else.
Nope, that's it.
I appreciate you coming in. And if you want to go ahead and send me that email, if you still got it.
Yeah, I'll find that email.
And then, like I said, you got my email, you got my phone number. Anything else arises, let me know. If you do have subsequent contact with her, and you guys have a conversation that you think is of note,
I'll let you know.
Yeah,
But I think we're probably done. You need anything from me, let me know, but that's all I had.
Okay.
All right.
I appreciate you.
We're going to be getting into the third and final interview. As you can see, it's the longest one. And again, really interesting because it's going to be the following year. He's had more time to reflect. So really exciting to get into this one.
Coming in.
Okay. Oh, right. First there's this. Okay. It's paused. Okay. Let me pause this. So let me read this to you guys. I know my voice is terrible. I'm sorry. But this is the police report from August 12th of 2014. So, and again, that interview that just finished was July 23rd. Okay. So here's their notes, right? They spelled Jeffrey wrong. Jeffrey Lacasse came to the police department after calling me and asking to meet with me the day prior. He advised me. So in other words, he came back, it looks like, but there was no, I guess, interview, or they didn't record it with video, but that's what this looks like. It looks like he came back again in August. Okay. Came to the police department after calling me and asking to meet with me the day prior. He advised me he was going through old text messages and discovered the following. He and his ex-girlfriend, Wendi Adelson, were supposed to go to California, July 11th to the 17th. And remember, Dan Markel was shot on July 18th. But they were expecting to do it earlier, and it didn't go through because those two idiots shot a hole in the bottom of the Prius floor thing or whatever. He advised that they made reservations on April 30th, and Wendi Adelson later canceled the reservations on 6/4. He also advised that he heard from Wendi and other friends that Wendi's brother Charlie texted her last week and asked to go out and celebrate. He further stated that while Wendi was at dinner with Charlie, she vomited at the table. Now remember, when they're referencing here is after the homicide, because we're in the month of August now. So in other words, if this text happened last week, as of from when the statement was, we're talking the beginning of August, right? Of 2014. They wanted to go out and celebrate, and Wendi vomited at the table. He thought all of this to be highly suspicious in lieu of the recent homicide. Lacasse further advised Wendi went to Guatemala March 13th to the 15th. He stated that she seemed different after her trip to that country. Lacasse did not elaborate any further. He provided that Wendi told him over the telephone that people were saying that she wanted to leave Tallahassee, and she told him that she did not want to leave Tallahassee, which is weird. Yeah, right. Lacasse told me the statement was completely contradictory to the way she felt about Tallahassee. Yeah, and wanting to go to South Florida. He also told me that Wendi had a boyfriend in South Florida. He did not know who this individual was and could not provide any further. In speaking to Lacasse, he believed that Wendi Adelson may be indirectly responsible for the murder of her ex-husband, Dan Markel. When I informed him that Wendi was not a suspect, he stated, well, she should be. Okay, let's see if there's another page here. I think that's it. And then it's going to go on to the next interview. Yep. Here we go. So now we're March 6, 2015, guys.
So it was Jeffrey or Jeff?
Jeffrey.
J-E.
R-E-Y. J-F-F-R-E-Y.
Now, I think speaking to a different detective, I wonder if this is Isom. I'm sure we'll hear.
And it's L-A-C.
A-S-S-E.
Let me get your date of birth, Jeff.
Sure, 10/18/71.
Yeah, I think this is Isom. It sounds like him. And it wasn't, so he spoke with somebody else before.
Okay. So what's up? Corey said, and we talked on the phone a little bit that you want to do. And you can start at the very beginning, however you want to do it.
I got some notes. Do you mind that?
No, absolutely not.
I don't want to forget stuff, so I've been writing stuff down last few months.
I love it. I got some notes, pulls out a whole freaking stack, just like Jason Mangold would do, which is so funny. Yeah, I don't did he give his birthday? I missed that. I'll back it up. Let's see here.
Mine.
I think it's your date of birth, Jeff.
Sure, 10/18/71.
Okay, 71. And Wendi was born in, I think, 1980. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point there. Like maybe 9 years. Wow. He looks, he doesn't look like it though. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So what's up? Corey said, and we talked on the phone a little bit that you want to do. And you can start at the very beginning, however you want to do it.
I got some notes. Do you mind that?
No, absolutely not.
I don't want to forget stuff, so I've been writing stuff down last few months. So probably might end up. Well, here's the thing, and just to give you the broad overview quickly. I felt like when I first talked to Investigator Hale, I was shattered. I mean, you can imagine you see violent crime all the time. So I think he saw a lot of noise, and a lot of the stuff I told him, but I don't know how it came across. The last couple of meetings we had, he seemed to think I was a disgruntled ex-boyfriend that got my heart broken, and that was why I was upset. And there was some truth to that. I was upset. But over time, I got some clarity on some things. So I guess I'll just give you my overall impression. And just want to tell you things I saw with my own two eyes that were very suspicious to me that I didn't feel really heard previously. or maybe they were hurting. That seems credible. I don't know. But just so you get the context for it, as far as the relationship stuff, that sucked. But that last 3-4 months, I moved on with my life. Actually, her moving away was the best thing that ever happened to me in terms of my personal life. It was a bad.
Good for you, Jeff. Yay, guys. Jeff is free of the spell. Good for you, Jeff.
Relationship. So this isn't any animosity towards her for being an unfaithful girlfriend. This is more deeply concerning stuff about someone getting killed. So I started dating Wendi in fall of 2013. We had mutual friends because a lot of our friends are in the Jewish community at the School of Social Work. So we both talked to a lot of the same people, throughout the investigation. Your name came up a couple of times. And we just have a lot of mutual friends and stuff. So that's how we met. So we dated casually in the fall. She just got divorced, so had I actually. And at the time, I came in here before, I thought Markel was a dick. That's what I had been taught by Wendi. Over time, I realized I was kind of misled. But in the fall, it was interesting. Let me start. Danny had been describing Wendi as a pathological liar and a mentally ill narcissistic sociopath in a semi-joking manner, but
To you?
to other people. I just heard that through the grapevine because people said, "Be careful with Wendi. She's a little unbalanced." And I said, "Well, she seems upset about her divorce, but I don't know if she's unbalanced." I didn't take it seriously at the time. It sounds extreme, right? I thought these two people having a nasty divorce. He's calling names. I thought it was totally out of line. It's one of the reasons I was upset with him because you've seen the court documents. He got sick of her and really went after her legally in a really aggressive way, and not knowing the background. I thought it was inappropriate. I thought it was taking things too far to try to disbar your ex-wife. But one impression I'm left with is, I don't think I said this before,
The way that I love that he's trying to get her disbarred. Amazing.
in December and January, I thought that was totally out of line. By May, I don't know if those are technically the correct words, but by May, I knew exactly what he was talking about. And this is a very troubled person, Wendi Adelson, deeply troubled person. And at first, she's gorgeous, she's smart, she's funny. I fell for this girl like a ton of bricks. Most men would. That was one of the reasons I stuck around too long. But just the overall impression of her. And Danny says this in court documents, actually, a very manipulative person, pathological liar. Wendi was an alcoholic while I was with her. She drank her dinner most nights. Extremely fragile.
Well, that is really interesting. I think I mentioned this when we were watching Wendy's interrogation. I was like, yeah, that comes out at some point in this interview. That like that is really surprising, right? Because she definitely tries to act like she knows nothing about alcohol, and I don't know. It's interesting. That was interesting to learn.
Extremely depressed. Many nights hated Tallahassee so much that thought we're a bunch of country bumpkins and we liked Tallahassee because she's from Miami. Didn't hide that fact. Thought it was bizarre that I moved here from Phoenix. And the 2 conversations that we had every single day for 9 months were, Danny is an evil monster. Tallahassee is the worst place in the world to live, and I can't believe I got stuck here because of Danny Markel.
I'm going to play that again for you guys. Imagine this. Every day, these 2 conversations. I don't know how he put up with this. This is insane.
Fact, thought it was bizarre that I moved here from Phoenix. And the 2 conversations that we had every single day for 9 months were, Danny is an evil monster. Tallahassee is the worst place in the world to live, and I can't believe I got stuck here because of Danny Markel. And she was obsessed with those 2 concepts.
And here's the thing. That right there is the whole point, right? Because how the hell would it benefit Charlie or Donna or anybody? Like, how does it benefit them to kill Dan Markel? They're not the ones that are stuck there. They're living their lives in, 8 hours away. Right there, those 2 reasons that Wendi complained about and complained about to them every day, I'm sure as well, right? Right there. Because when he's gone, then she can leave. Let me play it one more time. This right here is like, this to me sounds like this is how the whole thing started, right?
From Miami, didn't hide that fact. Thought it was bizarre that I moved here from Phoenix. And the 2 conversations that we had every single day for 9 months were, Danny is an evil monster. Tallahassee is the worst place in the world to live, and I can't believe I got stuck here because of Danny Markel. And she was obsessed with those 2 concepts. So I got really tired of hearing that, but I heard that every
Crazy.
day
Crazy.
for 9 months. Wendy's very manipulative in that she plays the victim very, very easily. Whenever we got into a confrontation, for me, very sensitive that I work with DV victims, women that have been raped as a social worker, all that kind of stuff. So I'm also a sensitive Mr. Rogers kind of guy. So it's a very easy way to manipulate me, or Markel for that matter.
Wow. It was an easy way to manipulate him or Dan, right? To play the victim. Let me play that part again. This gets so interesting, I feel like. And just, again, the insight that he's gained.
Very, very easily. Whenever we got into a confrontation, for me, very sensitive that I work with DV victims, women that have been raped as a social worker, all that kind of stuff. So I'm also a sensitive Mr. Rogers kind of guy. So it's a very easy way to manipulate me, or Markel for that matter. But she just wasn't stable even in the fall, and able to cover it up here or there. One of these people, the first 100 hours you spend with her, you think she's amazing. 101 on, you're like, shit, what did I get myself into here? This person's kind of crazy.
You talk a little fast for me.
I'm sorry.
100 hours.
Yeah, first 100 hours you think she's amazing. Then after that, wait a second, there's some tremendous flaws here. So she puts on a very good public face. It's a calm, but
Oh, I am so sorry. I just realized I was muted. I had muted it because I was coughing. I'm so sorry. Thank you for letting me know. Yes. So I was saying, I was commenting on this. So, so what I was saying is that, like, so I totally agree. I agree with what you're saying, but here's the thing. Like, in other words, where would this whole thing have initiated, right? Like, in other words, why is it the whole family? Like, why? So Wendy has her own issues with Dan, right? So why is it that Wendy just doesn't on her own without her family being involved, right? Why wouldn't Wendy go out and, like, find her own hitman and do this herself, right? Why would the whole family be involved? Well, the reason is exactly what's on the screen here, right? Which is that Wendy had her reasons for hating Dan and wanting to get out of and move, right? And leave because she hated Tallahassee. And then her family had their own reasons for also wanting to get rid of Dan so that Wendy can come to South Florida, right? But the key thing, I think, is that the goals are the same. So they have their different reasons for wanting to get rid of Dan, or, whatever, but the goal is the same. The goal is to get rid of Dan so they can take Wendy and bring her back down to South Florida. And that's the goal. And that's the reason, that's the only reason why you would have the whole family involved, right? Because they shared that same goal. It's like I said, it's the reason why you didn't have, in my opinion, Wendy just working on her own and finding somebody and doing it, right? And it's also the same reason why, in my opinion, you didn't have the family doing it without Wendy's knowledge, because they all had the same goal. They all had the same thing that they wanted. And so hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. So, like, in other words, yeah, I think it's the family. Again, I agree with this. I agree with this. I think it's that plus, and the whole thing, again, if you just think about what he's saying, right, that she complained about this every single day, you got to think too, right? Like, even if her family wanted her to come back to South Florida, they would have heard the same complaints every single day. And surely that would have only solidified their feelings, right? If you think about it that way.
As far as seeing stuff pertinent to the crime, I met her brother Charlie when I was down there in Miami for Implicating. You may recall that I said I found him to be a very strange person, very aggressive. Verbally, he takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Wait a minute, back up a second.
Yeah, he takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Sex tourism.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, South America. Just.
I'm kind of a sheltered guy.
Well, I was shocked not only that he would tell people he did that, but that he would tell his younger sister.
I'm
That's
reminiscent
strange.
of Corey Ballard and Alex.
Very odd. And there's this odd dynamic between them.
Correct.
Our family's real weird. He talked in the hot tub about punishing a girl by anally violating her in front of Wendi and I, like bragging about the fact that he'd hurt this girl because she had got him in an uncomfortable situation. So he came off like an offender to me. He came off like a, kind of sociopathic, like this is strange. He just met me. He's telling me this. It was really, really weird.
Okay, you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know. I'm just trying to rein you in a little
go
bit
ahead,
so I can make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
Well, the other detective had spent so much time with Jeff and he could keep up with Jeff because Jeff talks fast, but Detective Isom isn't used to it. So great comment here on the screen though, right? Like I completely agree. And this is spot on. If you think about it, each family member has their own role in this toxic family dynamic. Wendi is the baby, Charlie is the problem solver, Donna is the matriarch. Absolutely. And I said this as well too, right? Like if you think about the mafia, right? In like in a mafia setting, like the Don is the leader. This just dawned on me today, actually. I don't know how. I hadn't thought of this before, but it's so funny because in this case, Donna, right, is the leader. Kind of funny.
I do recall something about a hot tub.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think it may have been something I read from Corey Hale's report.
It might have been, yeah, I talked to him.
But are you saying you're in the hot tub
I'm in the hot tub.
after the Immokalee
Yeah, exactly.
retreat?
Exactly. We went from Immokalee to Miami and hung out with their brother.
Okay.
The first.
So you're in Miami at his place, I
Yeah,
guess?
exactly. It's very wealthy. It's got a really nice house in Miami Beach area.
Miami Beach.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're there and you're in the hot tub.
Yeah.
She's in the hot tub.
Yeah.
And the brother Charlie's in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Okay.
Charlie's talking about punishing girls through anally violating them in front of his sister. It's just.
Is it braggadocious?
Yeah. Like she got him punched out at a wedding. He had a Korean girlfriend that brought him as the only white guy to 400 Korean people and just him. Some of the men took offense and he got punched out.
Charlie did.
Yeah. So the way he handled that was to anally violate her and then brag about it the next day. I mean, it was really, really weird.
That had happened the day before y'all got in the hot tub?
Not that I misspoke there. It was pretty recent. It wasn't that day, but
Okay.
It was last month, the last couple of weeks, something like that.
So he goes to a Korean wedding
Yeah.
as the only Anglo,
Yeah, exactly.
and some men took offense because he was a date for one of the
Exactly.
Korean girls that was at the wedding.
Exactly. And he got punched.
And he probably opened his mouth or something. So
He says he got sucker punched, but I don't know.
okay, so he gets, and so his way of getting retribution is the girl that brought him to the wedding is to
Yeah.
rape her?
Well,
Or
it did not rape. It wasn't rape. It was consensual sex, but he was bragging about the fact that he made it hurt a lot and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
And that was just.
And that was anal penetration
Yeah.
he's bragging about.
And it was 20 minutes after I met him.
I got you.
So I'm just like, this is not normal. This is.
Nope, definitely not normal.
Guys will talk to their guy friends. Although I've never said anything like that. I would never want to hurt a woman. It's,
Right.
so it's, so it just struck me as very, very odd. Fast forward to May. We have that incident in the coffee shop that we discussed that Officer Hale and you were, I assume that's one of the reasons you guys were interested in talking to me in the first place. But just to remind you, I just walked into All Saints Coffee and there's my girlfriend with another guy. But that was a big deal in our relationship. And
Right, because you see her there and she's with this guy
yeah.
and you don't know who the guy is. Maybe I got that wrong. You knew that she was seeing a guy?
That's one of the things that concerned me is that she would bring him up from time to time. And there was other signs. I mean, there's, I think, 5 to 10 other men. I was in denial about it in this time period. That's not a crime, obviously, but she's very impulsive, very erratic. Doesn't think things through. She will do them and then worry about the consequences later. She was remarkably sloppy about cheating on me in terms of, that's what was interesting. Up until about early June, she was covering her tracks pretty well, actually. And after that fight, we had not a huge fight, we had a mild fight about that. And things started to get really, really strange. And this is why I think I had a hard time getting across to Investigator Hale. So we have that fight. She goes to Portland for a weekend. She comes back. It's now June. And June, I was walking around saying to all my friends, I don't know what is going on. Something is going on. We had that very frank talk about that and decided to stay together. She said, it's one guy. He's gone. He literally moved out of the area, as you probably know. So in June, I was walking around saying to my friends, I don't know what's going on. It's just uncanny to think back on it now.
It's really
So I don't know
interesting.
what's going on, but something's gonna happen. Like, it feels like there's drum beats. It feels like we're moving towards something. It's really
This gives me goosebumps. Let me back that up again. His intuition is just, you know,
the area, as you probably know. So in June, I was walking around saying to my friends, I don't know what's going on. It's just uncanny to think back
in
on
June, right? And the murder was in July.
it now. So I don't know what's going on, but something's gonna happen. Like, it feels like there's drum beats. It feels like we're moving towards something. It's really, really strange. I don't know what's going on. And one of the strange things that happened was we had a trip to California scheduled to see my parents the week that Danny was killed. And in early June, she rescheduled that trip. And I said, what's the problem with the trip? She says, well, I'm worried we'll get stuck in the airport and we won't be back on Friday. I have to pick up the kids from school. And I said, but we're coming back Thursday night. It's not winter. We're not going, Atlanta in the winter, I understand. There's no way we're going to get, and we can rent a car. We have friends and good babies.
The only thing here is he's going to reiterate how Wendi kept saying, I have to be back to pick up the kids from school on Friday. And remember, it was supposed to be Dan was supposed to be having the kids. Remember how Wendi had her interrogation and the whole thing was like, oh my God, like, who's going to pick up the kids? Like, it was supposed to be Dan's turn. He was going to take them to swimming and all that, right? It was supposed to be his turn. And he had the kids, right? But she's telling him ahead of time that they have to change their plans because she has to be back to pick up the kids.
He said, this is strange. I said, fine, cancel the trip.
And that was gonna be in early June?
The trip was going to be the week that Danny was killed.
Oh, okay. That was the trip?
11th to 19th was supposed to be the trip. So we had a trip planned, and she was real strange about the fact that we had to reschedule this trip. It just didn't make sense. And I even said, if you just don't want to go because you don't feel comfortable right now, just tell me. That's cool. She goes, no, I have to pick up the kids from school that day. I just have to. I don't.
And the other, right? She needs him to also not go because what he just said was like, well, you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to go. But remember, she needs him in the area, right, as well.
Stop that, And she said, I'll miss the kids at that point. I said, okay. A couple of days later, I say, well, she said, but I want to spend that time with you. I was leaving for Tennessee on Friday. And she said, I want to spend that Monday through Thursday with you. I said, great. What, you want to go to St. Augustine? She loves
Here's where it gets even more interesting, right? Here's where it gets even more interesting, guys.
the beach. She hates Tallahassee. This, again, is just very strange and suspicious to me. Wendi Adelson tells me, what I want to do is a staycation. I want to stay home in Tallahassee. I said, you want to stay in Tallahassee the hottest week of the year? She goes, yeah, we'll go to Tom Brown Park. We'll do this. I said, you hate it here. I'm offering to take you away. Why wouldn't you? It's just really strange at the time. I remember saying to my friends, like, Wendi wants, people laugh. I said, Wendi says she wants to stay in Tallahassee. Like, she leaves town. Sure, every chance she gets, she leaves town. Why would she want to stay? I said, I don't know. I have no idea.
Again, because she wants to make sure that he stays, right? That he's available to try to look like, they could pin it on him.
Just to convince her to do a trip to St. Augustine. But we had to schedule it so that we were back basically by the time of the shooting. So that was just strange. It was peculiar at the time. And when we scheduled that trip to St. Augustine, I was sitting there, she has her calendar open. You have to schedule everything with her. That's just how she was. There was just, at the time, I can remember sitting in her office trying to schedule this, and there's this weirdness about that weekend. We're scheduling other things, no problem. But that weekend, she just was intent on. That day meant something to me before Danny was shot. Like, there's something weird about that week. I don't know what it is, but there's something weird about that week. if we keep going through June, other things I noticed in June that were really crazy.
Let me back up a
Yeah,
second so I get
please.
this right.
Yeah.
July 11th through 19th, you're supposed to go to California.
Yeah.
Leave on the 11th, come back on the 19th.
I can look it up for you. It might be 12th to 19th, but it was the week that Danny was shot. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when is she saying, I can't do it? What date? What date are we talking about when she's telling you I can't do
Early
it?
June. I can pull up the exact.
Early June.
Early June. Yeah.
So you're supposed to go to California with her, just you two.
We have plane tickets purchased. And she sat me down. I think it was June 5th or 7th. I will find out for you if you would like.
Yeah.
And she just said, I can't do that. And it just didn't make sense. It just didn't make any sense.
So she'd already said that date was that window of
She said, this is the 1 week I have to go see your parents. And I
11th
said,
through the
but
19th.
that was in May we booked them. So 3 different times she canceled plans with me in the 2 or 3 day period with Danny.
What you're leading to is this is highly suspicious that she needs to be here on the 18th of July.
Yeah, just anecdotally, subjectively, whatever it's worth, it was really weird. It was really strange. I know this woman. I know her really well. And there was something at the time with me saying to my friends, what's going on? It's just really, really strange. It's just really.
She'd never done anything like this before.
No, she had canceled and recanceled, and she did that all the time. Completely disorganized person, but it usually made sense. It usually had a reason, and usually the reason was something about court with Danny, or the parents wanted to come down to South Florida. Every other time but this, I understood. This time I was completely puzzled. It didn't make sense, and it was very, very strange.
Okay, so she cancels this trip to California. Did you go anyway?
I did
No,
not.
of course you did. You were okay.
Wish I had.
Yeah. And so what happens to these plane tickets?
Her ticket, I have no idea.
So she bought her own?
Yeah, we bought separate plane tickets. As a matter of fact, I don't know that she did buy a plane ticket,
Oh,
but she told me she did.
same airline, same
Think so.
flight?
I can find out for you. I can send you my reservation, because we had a discussion about getting our seats moved together. So I think she probably bought a ticket, actually, but I never saw the ticket.
It wasn't discussed any further?
I can't recall.
Okay, so that's the first thing. In early June, she says, Jeff, I got to be back on that Friday, the 18th,
Exactly.
to pick up the kids. I guess that's going to be the first of her week with the kids, maybe?
Yeah, she gets the kids back after having, because they went to 7-day schedule in the summer.
Right.
And she's going, I'll miss the kids. I said, we'll be back. I said, you don't want to go? Just tell me I don't want to go. No, I want to go. I just got to be back for the kids. There was a special.
Okay, why not adjust the flight or just
Well, she had the kids the previous week. This was her one free week. She's also booked all summer.
Well, the 18th is a Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so, going backwards, the 11th should have been a Thursday, I'm thinking.
I can look it up, but it just wasn't. She was booked week by week throughout the summer.
She doesn't even have any school stuff, right? I mean, I don't know if you're off during that
No,
time.
I'm completely off. She has a lot of obligations to her parents. Her parents want her down in Miami every chance she gets. All through this county, there's parents.
Crazy.
All right,
So three different occasions. This at the time, it's like, what's going on with the 18th of July or the week of the 18th? What is this?
Crazy.
I don't understand what this is.
Okay, so the first thing is the California trip, and it's next.
Yeah.
Then you want to take her to St. Augustine, because
Yeah, she wants to stay, and that's just bizarre.
But did you ever make plans to go to St. Augustine?
Yeah, so a week later, again, we sat in front of the calendar, and it was really strange. There was this hesitancy about that weekend. She says, I'll go to St. Augustine, but we have to be back early on Friday.
Early on Friday. What is early on Friday now?
We were going to wake up and come straight back from St. Augustine, so we would have got up at 7, been here by 9 or 10.
Okay.
She had to pick up the kids from school till 4. It didn't make sense.
Okay.
So I said fine, and my thing was I was going to drop her off and then drive up to Atlanta. I was going to drop her off and go. So that was just strange. It just stuck in my head. Like, what?
Because your trip to your friend up in Tennessee, what was the date you were supposed to go?
I was supposed to leave at about 10 or 11 a.m. on Friday the 18th.
Okay.
Because I was supposed to the original trip was to go straight to Atlanta, stay the night in Atlanta, then go to Tennessee the next day. So I'm supposed to leave here at 10 or 11 and get there at 4 or 5.
On Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon. Yeah,
Okay.
that changed. But that was the original.
No, because you left on Thursday.
Yeah, I did.
All right, well, let's jump to that so I can fill in this blank.
Yeah.
Why did you leave on Thursday?
We'd had a huge fight in late June. I discovered some other cheating. I was very upset with her. And she had sent me, we had sort of broken up, basically. But she put me on a 7-day hold.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I remember
yeah.
that. She sent you an email or
Yeah,
something?
exactly. So the night before, I was so upset. I was just like,
7-day hold is wild. Is that a phrase that you guys have heard? Sorry, my voice is getting even worse. I'm sorry about that, but I just find that so strange. A 7-day hold. That sounds like if you want to reserve something at a department store. It's just bizarre.
fuck this, I'm going. I could get out of town. I was upset. But that's something my friends have said to me that I've never said this, but my friends have said, Jeff, because sometimes it's hard for me to see this clearly. They can see it more clearly. Jeff, you do realize that if you left Friday at 11 a.m. for Atlanta, what this would have looked like, you would have been in custody. You're right.
Oh.
Now, I'm not saying that, but some of my friends, it was like a clumsy attempt to take attention off her and put it on me. I'm not saying that's true. It sounds a little far-flung to me. It sounds a little clumsy to me. But she knew exactly when I was going to leave. I'm a late riser, and she didn't know I changed my plans, obviously. So I'm glad I changed my plans. I wouldn't blame you guys for being a little more suspicious if you didn't. I mean, if I leave at 11, you just see me driving north 10 minutes after Danny showed up. So that looks suspicious to a lot of people. I know it makes it sound like a criminal mastermind. It may sound crazy to you, but that's what my friends say. So can I go back to the stuff in June?
Absolutely, I'm sorry.
No, I have any questions you want to ask. I know I talk fast, and
Just a little faster than I'm used to.
my dad's from Boston, so I'm an adopted Southerner, but I haven't slowed down yet. So in June, these are just my impressions, but it was 5 or 6 times in June. I'm playing with the kids. We had a good family life, terrible romantic relationship because she was cheating me all the time. But I'm home with the kids with her, nice family life.
You had her house out on
Every time, yeah.
Cameron.
Exactly, off Aqua Ridgewood Lane, yeah, nice house. So 4 or 5 times in late June, I'm playing with the kids, reading them stories. I was very close to Ben in particular, spent a lot of time with those children. And I look out of the corner of my eye, and Wendi would be in the kitchen crying for no reason whatsoever. And at the time, what it looked like to me is she's like taking it all in, and she looked like she was grieving something. And I would say, what's wrong? And she'd say, nothing's wrong. Or make up some bullshit story. She lied so much, it was hard to know. But in retrospect, it makes me worry a lot because it looked like she was wrestling with something. It wasn't suspicious, it was just weird. But in retrospect, it's like, wow, let's assume she knew something was going to happen. That's how a person might react, she made a choice, but
That's late June.
That's late June. So that happened enough times that I talked to my friends about it. Well, what she was talking about in June, relocation to Miami, how terrible it was to be stuck in Tallahassee, crying like I got stuck here, I didn't choose this, I can't stand it. And she talked about the fact that the only way she could ever relocate is if something happened to Danny.
Now, did she actually say that?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
This is the first time you've mentioned that.
I don't think so. I think I did mention that to Investigator Hale.
Okay.
I think I did. Well, no, it wasn't. I had 3 interviews with Investigator Hale.
Okay.
The next 2 was me trying to tell him things like this. I don't think he was hearing me.
Okay.
So, no, she didn't say I killed Danny. She didn't say that word for word. But it was, because I was saying, hey, we're about to get serious here. Are you going to be here? Because she hated it so much. I need to know what's going to happen. And she's like, well, the only way let me give you the context. The only way I could leave is if something happened to Danny. But if that did happen, that would be a tough decision. I would probably need to go back to Miami to be with my parents. So that scenario came from her, but it was a response to a question from me. So I guess I need to be fair about that one.
Sure.
But it was, and it's true, right? I mean, it was. I asked if Danny might move with her. She said she would not be willing to do that. But she was talking about that.
She would not be willing to do that?
no, she did. Well, Danny had job offers from all over the country constantly, and she didn't want to live in Houston or St. Louis or things like that. I mean, she was miserable here. She was here just because she came with Danny. She didn't like her job. She didn't like the area. She didn't like split custody. I don't know that people knew how upset she was. I mentioned to you before you came into the room when I said this, but this is the time period. I don't know the exact day. I'm so distracted by relationship stuff, I can't quite remember it. But she told me that Charlie had looked into having Danny killed in the summer of 2013. She meant it dead serious. I wish to God I'd follow up on that at the time, trying to figure out us. And I thought, well, Charlie's crazy. I can imagine that, but certainly he's not crazy enough to do that. So I didn't worry about it.
That's your interpretation.
Something.
No, let's back up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's get into the context of your conversation with her where that comes up about Charlie.
Please.
So
She just, she's talking about Danny. She is completely.
where are we at?
We're at her house in the living room in late June.
In late June of 2013.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah.
I'm sorry, 2014.
Yeah, late June. And you know what? This might have even been, this is sometime between June 20th and the Monday before Danny was shot.
Okay.
And I want to say it was right before, but I don't trust my memory on that, the date. And she's talking about Danny because it's all she ever talked about. Danny wasn't a human being. He was Satan.
He was what?
He was Satan.
Satan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what was real strange about this was that in January, February, March, they had a lot of court stuff, and I could see why she'd be so pissed off at Danny. Danny had calmed down. He liked his new girlfriend. The judge had read him the riot act in court when they went to court the one time and told the other attorney, you need to calm your client down and stop having your client write his own legal briefs. I'm sick of reading this crap. Danny was going to get his butt handed to him by the court, and Wendi was going to have to concede a couple of things, but she was going to win, everybody thought. And he had calmed down. He really had. So I was trying to say, we could talk about Danny a little less. Danny's chill. Danny's happy with Amy. This is good. This is good for us, I was starting to see Danny a little more realistically at that point. So she's in the middle of these conversations. She's just ranting and raving about Danny. Very angry with Danny. She's very sensitive. And worst thing you could do for Wendi is point out that she's not perfect. And that's what Danny represented to her is, say you're a liar. Things like that.
I knew that it was going to come back to this. What's so funny? I had this feeling when early on in the first interview where he says that it was in the divorce filings, right? That Danny, knew her number, as they say, and was in the divorce filings was she has a, what was it? It was a very specific term. It was a specific pattern of behavior, but it was as if it was something that was tested and vetted and a display, well, I'm trying to remember exactly how he said it, but anyway, there's a as if she scientifically figured out what's the best method, right? Methodical. And I thought to myself, the fact that that was in the divorce filing, I was I bet that's going to come up because you know what? That right there could have been the thing that really ticked Wendi off, the most. Was that because of the fact that that's in a divorce filing, it's in a legal document, it's on the record. In other words, he's saying these things about her personality and they're on the record, right? And if it's in a pleading, it's it's under oath, right? It's here it is, So it's just funny that he's commenting on that as well.
All of these conversations, she's just ranting and raving about Danny. Very angry with Danny. She's very sensitive, and worst thing you could do for Wendi is point out that she's not perfect. And that's what Danny represented to her is, say you're a liar. Things like that. Anyway, she just comes out of the blue and I said, I just wish something, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was this isn't going to ever be fixed in the way you want it. This is, you're linked to this man for your life. There's no fix for this, but you have to fix what you think and feel. And she said, well, Charlie did look into having him killed last summer. He said it would cost about $15,000.
$15,000?
That's right. Seems cheap to me, but you would know better than I. And
It's, I want to make sure I understand this completely.
Please.
So June, what was the date?
Between June 20th and March 14th, let's say. I think it's probably, I think it's closer to July, between June 20th and July 14th. I think it's closer to July 14th.
Okay. She says, Charlie
Charlie did actually look into having him killed last summer.
last summer.
And he was told it would cost $15,000. And one of Charlie's
This is just paraphrased, but I want to make sure I
Yeah,
understand. Charlie did look into having
Danny killed last summer. It would cost about $15,000. And that's not exactly word for word, but that's pretty close to what she said. Wish to God I had followed up. But how do you respond to that? What do you say?
What did you say?
I changed the subject to us. I was interested in working our relationship out.
She ever bring that up again?
No, never again. But what worries me is that the speech pattern, I'm not trying to play FBI profiler here, but
It's kind of like, I told you half a truth instead of half a lie.
that's how she lies. That's exactly, I'm sure you've done that on anyway. So it doesn't have the impulse control just to say nothing in high stress situations, but gives you this half-assed version. Yeah. So I thought about that a lot.
But you do remember the amount is 15,000?
I do remember that.
No further than that, nothing else?
There was nothing else. I wish I followed up. I beat myself up about this.
No, you didn't.
What am I gonna do? Call you guys and say my girlfriend said something crazy? I don't know.
No.
The thing that worried me about Charlie is he has a very close friend and goes on these trips with him who's ex-special forces and is known for being kind of deranged. And it felt like it was done by somebody who knew what they were doing. So I told you guys that already.
What's his name though? I never got the name.
I don't know. I assumed you guys investigated it. I don't know. He's a tatted up, known affectionately as a deranged guy. Guy just didn't come back the same like some of these guys do, unfortunately.
I feel like that guy also came on STS one time, Surviving Survivor.
Hell. When I heard the crime occurred, about 12 hours, I was shocked. And then as I'm driving up I-75, in my head, I was like, holy shit, Charlie did it. He got that guy. I can't remember his name.
You're saying this guy is on Charlie's Facebook page or was?
I don't know if he is.
Okay.
These are really smart people. I wouldn't be Facebook friends with them anymore if any of this is true. Other thing that happened in June, our relationship isn't doing well. All of a sudden, from nowhere, like a 5-year-old kid will try to manipulate you in a very transparent way, and it's like obvious what they're doing. She started doing that kind of stuff. I got the sense we weren't going to make it. It was obvious to me, and I never going to trust her again. All of a sudden, she throws me the world. And I felt at the time, I said to my friends, I've been very careful not to develop like a hindsight bias. I've checked back in with my friends. What did I say? They said, you said in June, it felt like Wendi was stringing you along for some reason. And you couldn't figure out why didn't she just break up with you? She's like, this ain't gonna work, So all of a sudden, she's telling me I should move in.
Move in with her?
Yeah, she's talking about moving in. And I wanted a family so bad. She knew that. She manipulated me with the kids constantly. She said the kids should start calling you daddy. I'm going to talk to my mom and dad. And
Oh, wow,
I'm
that's
Jewish. That was the whole thing.
Wow.
I'm going to get approved by the parents. I'm going to give you the passwords. I'm going to give to all my computer accounts. She started acting like this was going to be a permanent thing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I can give you a second.
I'm just, I have to respond to
I
this right
understand.
now.
I understand. No problem.
So it just at the time, I felt like I was being manipulated. I couldn't figure out why she wanted to keep me around. It was really strange. Just all of a sudden, here's the world. Just all of a sudden being over the top sweet.
I hate to say it, Jeff, I'm confused about this timeline here.
Yeah,
Maybe
but-
we should try to get that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, where's this week off? What
That's
is
in
the-
July. I've been going.
Okay,
I've been going in order.
okay,
So we're still in June right now.
okay. So we're in, but this comment from late June of the 20th through the July 14th is before or after what you're telling me now?
I can't remember
And
exactly.
it's my fault.
No, it's okay. No, it's not a fault. I can't remember. I want to be as honest and accurate as I can.
Sure.
I think that's the Monday before he was shot, but I can't be certain. So this would be preceding that.
Preceding, okay.
Preceding that.
Okay,
Yeah. So it was just all strange. These are just my impressions. But it's like, what is going on? It just didn't make any sense. It was just really strange, erratic behavior.
she wants you to what though?
Well, I was threatening to leave at this point. too.
Okay.
So, and I guess if I'm putting on my cop show hat, I'm wondering if it would have looked weird if you break up with your boyfriend and then a week later someone gets shot. You know what I mean? I don't know. So get to mid to late June. She went down to South Florida. She came back. I could tell she had cheated on me. I was very upset. It's very obvious. And I went to Gainesville, June 27th. She accompanied me down there for a work trip.
Okay. 27th.
Yeah, that weekend together. Tried to thing was she was going back to Miami for 2 weeks. As soon as we got back, we drive back to Tallahassee. Then she drives down to Miami with her mom.
Oh.
So that was because her mom has to come up to take with her because she's not allowed to go herself.
That's
It
insane.
was the worst time in the world to have a fight. I just finally lost my mind on her. Right? So one reason this is relevant to the investigation.
Wendy was not allowed to make that drive on her own.
Crime
Like,
by a
that's
couple weeks.
so insane.
I did not touch her. I did not call her names, but I lost my shit on her. I told her exactly how upset I was. I chewed her ass. She decompensated in a way that I've never seen an adult do before. She ended up in the fetal position, sobbing like a 3-year-old. So I was really upset, as you can imagine. I mean, and put me with the kids on Mother's Day, and the next day, I was really upset. So anyway, I was pretty angry with her, and you may have seen the email. She actually was manipulative enough that I ended up apologizing for that.
Was this on her Gmail account?
Yes. There's a lot of
Other investigators have looked at those,
gotcha.
and so I'd have to figure out which one.
I'm just saying, if you see it, it's a little
I
embarrassing.
just didn't know if it was her Gmail account or her work account or a different account.
Yeah.
If I want to go back and look at it, I'm gonna look at the Gmail.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's all true.
Did she give a reason?
It's deeply important to her she be perceived a certain way.
No, did she give a reason why she was having multiple sex partners?
Not a good one, no. I mean, she said she didn't actually. She said she was very upset by my behavior in Immokalee when we had what you or I would probably consider normal range, uncomfortable conversations for 30 seconds. Where she said, I was afraid in Immokalee you were going to be a jerk. I said, could you please be more considerate to me? That's literally all I said. She's a hair trigger. I think she didn't want a boyfriend, is my suspicion. I think I was awful helpful with the kids and stuff like that.
Okay, I got you.
I think she enjoyed using me as her.
Okay, let's narrow this down.
Yeah.
Okay, June 27th, you're telling me is the date that
Yes.
you're in Gainesville and you have this blow up.
Yeah, we have a total blow up.
Okay, so is the comment about Charlie and the 15 grand after that?
It is after that.
Okay, so we can narrow it down to the 27th. And
Yeah.
after,
You know what? I just want to be as conservative as I can, but I'm almost positive that was July, the Monday before he was shot. If I had to bet money on it, that's where I put my money.
Okay.
So, when I was talking to her about that, I was struck by how cold and callous and basically sociopathic she was. Here I am, I was crying, I was very upset. And I said, you're not a sociopath, you must feel bad about this on a certain level. And she goes, I don't know if I'm a sociopath, I don't feel bad about any of this.
Had there ever been a confusion about, okay, Jeff, I'll just be in simple,
Yeah.
Elementary terms. Jeff loves Wendi. Wendi loves everybody. You see what I'm getting at?
No, that's what
You understood that she was supposed to be strictly with you.
Yeah, just from March on. Before that, I knew
Right.
knew what she was doing before that. March on, I've been to 50 dinner parties where I'm introduced as her boyfriend. She took me out in public constantly. Continually.
Give me a minute here.
Yeah.
You need something?
If you have water, I'm
Yeah,
going to drive
yeah.
it. I appreciate it.
Reviewing his notes. Classic. Look at that. He's like, I still can't believe this.
I see and all that.
Sorry. There we go.
He's a very interesting guy, and you may have known guys like this. I know some in Tallahassee. He's friends with people on both sides of the tracks. He's got friends that are physicians and professors and all that. He's got guys he hangs out at his gym that don't have a high school diploma, and he's able to buddy up with them too. He's very good socially. Charlie is street smart. He comes off kind of like a con man. He is really good with women. He's one of those con man womanizer types. Different girl every night. Very social and smooth. So he enjoys flowing from one side of society. He has a Ferrari. I mean, he could just hang out in the upper crust. He doesn't. He enjoys slumming with these other guys, So I think he's taken trips with that guy, though. If you're going to look into it, I believe he's part of the crew that went to South America.
I have somebody checking right now to see if maybe we're talking about the same person.
Yeah, I don't know. By the way, Charlie is so industrious and so street smart that if it wasn't that guy, it wouldn't make me any less suspicious that Charlie was involved. He just was the natural first thing that popped into.
So what do you think, Jeff? You don't. Okay, so when you first started talking to me today, and don't take this the wrong way, but when you first started talking to me, I thought we were fixing to crucify Wendi right here, as far as everything, and that she was directly involved. Not necessarily that she killed her ex-husband, but had solicited for someone to do it.
I still believe that. I'm 100%. I never say 100%. I'm a researcher. I was 90% sure when I talked to you guys in July. I was waiting for you to catch somebody, because then maybe I'm crazy, right? So then when Myron May happened, I thought maybe it was Myron May. I'm just wondering. At this point, I'm pretty confident.
This is an email that I think you're referring to. I'll give you an opportunity to read it.
Yep, that's the one she sent. That's where I'm going right now.
Okay, so this is July 15th. Is that accurate?
That's right.
Okay, July 15th is the Tuesday before.
The thing she told me about Charlie would have been the night before this.
Okay, so we are on the 14th.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, it would have been Monday, July 14th. That's actually just where I was going for right now.
Go ahead.
So she goes to South Florida for 2 weeks. We barely talk. It's hard on both of us. You guys have emails. It's bullshit romance stuff going back and forth. We had one long conversation and decided to patch things up. She sounded very calm in this conversation.
These are phone conversations?
Yeah.
She's in Miami.
She's in Miami. And while she's in Miami, she always says, she would just disappear for 14 days. I wondered if there's another man down in Miami too. It seemed plausible because her parents take care of the kids. It doesn't make sense how busy she is. Come back Monday, we go on a date. That's the 14th. That's the night that.
Okay, you're on the date here.
Yeah, we're on a date here. It was real awkward. And she was a little strange, but it was overall a pretty positive date.
That's on the 14th.
It's on the 14th. So
that you're having this conversation during or after your date?
After the date.
Back at her house?
Back at her house.
Okay.
Back at her house. And didn't have wine that night. She was sick. She got back home. She was really stressed out and sick. So the next day is Tuesday the 15th. Wake up in the morning, I call Wendi, and I told investigator Hill this. I don't know if there's anything here, but it was kind of bizarre. Talk early in the morning, maybe 9 or 10, and I said, I'd like to see you today. I was a little encouraged. And she said, yeah, I'd love to see you. And she'd walked herself out of her house. I said, well, come hang out with you. She said, I'd love to spend time with you. And then I waited. 3 hours later, I get a phone call, and she's like, actually, I got into the house. Let's not do the afternoon. Let's just go to yoga together. So I went
Where?
yoga.
Okay.
So I went to yoga together. It was awkward as hell. She was cold. She was done. I can tell. So I'm sitting there yoga going, okay, this is over. Walk her to her car at the end of yoga. And I say, I love you. I don't know what else to say. She goes, I know. I was like, well, that's not ideal.
So I love you. And she goes, I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Of course you do. I'm a goddess.
Talking about narcissism.
Yeah.
So I said, I literally went, okay. I just turned to leave, and all hail this, but I want to say it again. She goes, hey, Jeff, are you still going to Tennessee on Friday? And I say, I'm thinking, why the hell does she care?
Wow.
It's obvious.
You're walking away, you're separating?
Yeah, I wanted 10 paces away from her, and she says, hey, Jeff, are you
Here
still
we
going to
go.
Tennessee on Friday? And I say, I lie. And I say, actually, it's up in the air. Because we talked about if we broke up, I should come over and say goodbye to the kids. I was hoping she'd invite me over. And she said, well, she was deeply interested. She asked me 3 or 4 questions.
But this is after this, right?
It is after. No, that's not. I get this email at the end of the night. She goes home and she sends this email. This is after this. This is after the conversation. The conversation I'm telling you about right now happens an hour before I get this email.
An hour before. Okay,
And the
so this
email
we're
is
still
no
Tuesday the 15th?
Yeah, at 7:00 at night.
Okay,
Got out of the yoga.
okay.
So she asked 3 or 4 questions about under what circumstances would I go? Why am I thinking about not going? She seemed deeply interested in what I'm going to do on Friday. It just was bizarre. I was like, well, whatever. Got home, got this email. What was so strange about this? We had just spent 16 days away from each other, thinking about things. Then I get this. I told her, if you don't want to do this, send me a text and say I can't do this anymore. Why would you string me along for a week? It's real strange.
I just want to make sure that we're on the
Yeah,
same page.
yeah.
I'm going to read this aloud, so
Yeah.
so if there's something,
Oh,
it
good.
pains me to be
So
writing this to you now, but here we go. I need some space to clear my head and to figure out how to move forward. I am heartsick, but my head and my heart are having 2 different reactions to us being together, and I can't reconcile them to be in this like you would want me to be. So she's saying you're coming on too strong, basically, is what I'm reading. You want a full commitment.
No, that's not how I read it, but I mean, it's.
Well, I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. Is that
Yeah.
not true? I mean, do you want a full commitment from her?
I wanted to continue the relationship, yes.
Okay.
But we had discussed just breaking up. We just spent 16 days apart thinking about things.
Right. You're 16 days apart. Then you go on a date on the 14th. She makes the comment about her brother was looked into killing Danny the previous summer, which had been summer of 2013. She didn't specify a month. You didn't question her any more about that.
I was too focused on this stuff. Yeah, I didn't.
No, when she's making this statement on you're saying the Monday.
Yeah.
Which would be the 14th.
Yeah.
When she makes this statement that Charlie had looked into having someone do this for 15, it was going to cost. Hey, how much does it cost to kill this guy? And the answer that Charlie gets is $15,000. He shares that with his sister.
Yes.
Okay. And then she says that to you. And that was in the context preceding that conversation was basically, what do you want to do? You don't like it here. I'm talking in your.
That was part of the conversation. There was constant conversation about Danny is awful at Tallahassee sucks. That's about all she ever said.
And I can't do anything. I'm stuck here because, I guess she got denied relocating with the kids. And
I just have to say that what we're hearing here is exactly why, if Charlie decided to try to make a deal, and especially with the wake of potentially a new trial happening, right? And, having second thoughts about, hey, why am I paying the price for this? And Wendy's out scot-free. The 2 people who could speak the most to Wendy's involvement, right, are Jeff and Charlie. And only Charlie could verify what we're hearing here, right? As far as their conversation, like Charlie could be like, yep, she knew, I told her the price, blah, blah. So you can see why that would be really crucial. In terms of getting, verifying this firsthand. But I mean, it's damning as it is, right? So
she's saying, I'm stuck here unless something happens to Danny, is what you're getting at.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
And then she just spills this out.
And then I think, by the way, she just went to the bathroom. I think there was something like that where like.
But you're saying that, I mean, there was no more conversation about, this is huge to me. This is like, my brother's already checked into it and it costs this much.
Yeah, I could.
Is it like, this is still available and open, or 15 grand is too much we're too cheap?
This family's rich. I mean, that's nothing.
No, I know, but
He
what's,
doesn't have petty cash in his office.
okay, but was this like, this option still available? Is that how it was?
It was just said in passing. And I've mulled it over in my head 100 times. I didn't know what it meant.
Okay, so my brother checked into it and it was gonna cost 15 grand.
I'm just heartbroken in this situation. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about how can I get this woman back.
I realize, but I'm trying to glean this from what the interpretation that you got from it.
Yeah.
I know you told me you didn't ask for anything more about it. I mean, you know, a statement like this, don't take this the wrong way, but if I was in your shoes, I'd be saying, what the hell are you talking
I
about?
got used to her craziness.
That's
okay, right. So
all right.
she's all over the place all the time. So I think I just wrote it off as another crazy thing Wendi says.
But you recall the amount.
I do, and I went back to a couple of friends because I told them about this
Right.
after Danny got shot. I said, "Holy shit!" You know, I mean, that's what happened. So I beat myself up about that.
No. I don't want you to beat yourself up. I just want to make sure that you didn't. I'm just trying to get you to see it. Is there anything else that you can recall? I'm not saying you did anything wrong.
I know I did that.
I'm saying, are you sure you didn't miss something else in that conversation?
No, because then it was right back to her and I.
Okay. All right.
Since you're going to be here, and that's not going to happen, you know that.
So this comment is made in passing as she's traipsing off to the
Something,
bathroom.
yeah, or her bedroom or something.
Comes back out. It's all
And
okay.
I say, I had a good time last night, or something like that. You
Okay.
know, it was that kind of thing. So she sent me this email, and I don't know if it's coming on. I didn't know what to make of it. I sent it to some of my friends who know her pretty well. It said, she's crazy, is what they said. I mean, why wouldn't she just break up with you? It doesn't even make sense. I should have broke up with her. But we've been apart 16 days. She wants another week. But recall that when she left Danny, she just moved out while it was gone. So confrontation isn't her thing, you know. So maybe that's why. So Wednesday goes by. There's Thursday. Thursday, she.
You're still up in the air about leaving. You've told her, I don't know for sure if I'm leaving Friday or not.
That's right. She doesn't know for sure. I don't know if she would have known. We have mutual friends that I told on Wednesday or Thursday that I was going, but it wouldn't shock me if she were able to find out that I was going. I mean, we have mutual friends.
But your answer to her was, I don't know yet.
That's right. But the next day I decided to go. So I was
on Wednesday.
Yeah, I decided to go for sure on Wednesday. Thursday, she changes her Facebook picture. I'm sure you've seen the picture of her in the beautiful purple dress. It's all over the media. It was suspicious to me after the fact that picture was changed 12 hours before Danny shot, and that's the picture that was distributed to the media. She's very concerned with her appearance and how she looks. So I know that maybe sounds crazy. Investigator Hale seemed to think it was, but I thought this is so strange. She changed her Facebook picture twice in 2 years. And the night before Danny's shot, and she's going to be all over the media, she looks like a Victoria's Secret model, you know?
Okay.
So, but I was bothered enough by that picture.
What was the prior picture?
Something that looks more like a 35-year-old woman with 2 kids would have on her Facebook page.
Okay.
All the other pictures, and she looks pretty enough, but that one looks, she looks amazing in that picture.
Okay.
She's not even that pretty in real life. That picture, I think her dad
Photoshop.
Her dad photoshops that stuff. He does that kind of thing. So it was a picture produced for her by her father, I believe. So Friday I leave. Thursday night I leave. About an hour after I saw that picture, I said, fuck this. And I just drove out of town. The next day, Danny shot at 11 a.m. No one contacts me, which we have a lot of mutual friends, and they didn't. I talked to some of them after the fact. They tell me that they were under the impression that I was very likely an actual suspect in this case. I posted on Facebook from Tennessee Friday night at a time where it would have been impossible for me to ever have been here at the time of the shooting. She didn't contact me for 10 days. She told me that the police had instructed her that I was a suspect and she was not to return a text message that I sent her. That she could not do that. I actually recently dated a criminal defense attorney, just coincidentally, and she thought that was bizarre because she said they want you talking, you want to incriminate yourself, they're going to get access to this stuff. But
That didn't come from me.
I don't think it came from anyone. It was very strange. Well, I know legally you can't do that probably, but
No.
I mean, it's why would you want to? So I wasn't in the room with her. I don't know how she acted or whatever, but it was implausible that I did this. And I don't know. She told me I tried to protect you from the police. I want to know where your house was. I want to know this. I said, I don't need protecting. How come none of your friends called me or texted me? Well, they told me later that she seemed to be concerned that I actually did this.
Why would you do it?
I can find out. Why would I do it?
Right?
Well, what did she say? Well,
Crime of passion. We're breaking up and Jeff's upset. I mean, so I don't know if she said that to you guys. I know you can't tell me that. But she was telling people in her social circle, apparently, that they shouldn't contact me, I guess.
Right.
That, this was really a possibility. And that just seems deeply suspicious to me. A lot of these people aren't really close friends with me, but I found out about this crime third hand. And that just struck me as incredibly strange. And suspicious, very suspicious. I just got a couple other things and then I'll answer your questions. Yeah. Called Officer Hale, said, hey, just so you know, Wendi hasn't key to that house on Trescott. So I know there was some mystery and discussion and speculation. How'd the guy get in, or I don't know the crime scene details, but Wendy's constantly losing keys.
Right.
So, and rediscovering them, all the time.
Right.
So she had keys. He didn't call me back on that, and I don't know if it was helpful or not. And then here's just a list of strange things that she said after.
So we know that Dan was shot in the driveway, but remember, Wendi during her interrogation tells that weird story about Dan's alarm, the house, right? The alarm went off or whatever, and it seemed really weird. It didn't really make any sense, and it wasn't in response to any questions she was being asked, but she wanted to mention that, right? Which is interesting. Is it almost like she was wanting to suggest that someone had been there to burgle the place prior to the murder? It was really interesting.
For the crime. I talked to her 3 or 4 times. She said, I love Tallahassee. I wanted to remain in Tallahassee for the rest of my life.
these are phone conversations?
These are phone
What?
conversations.
He said that?
Danny has so many enemies, it will be impossible to figure out who did this. He's a pretty beloved man, and he was an abrasive guy, but that's a strange thing to say. I've never heard any sympathy from her one time about Danny. She still seems enraged, obsessed, and defiant about Danny. I told Officer Hale that her and Charlie went to dinner maybe 3 weeks after the crime. Charlie called it a celebration dinner via text. She puked on the table during the dinner after Charlie said something. She wouldn't tell me what he said. She said Charlie made a remark and I just puked everywhere.
Celebration dinner?
That's what Charlie called it. You can look up, if you have access to text, you can find that. Yeah, that's what she called it. She said the kids are having problems, but not because of Danny's murder. So the kids are peeing the bed and having natural kid stuff, not because of Danny's murder. That's a really weird thing to say. Most people would say they're upset because their father just got killed. It seems to be important to her that it not be because of that. She was very upset that I attended Danny's memorial service.
Wow.
The Tallahassee Democrat ran the story. They put, must have been her worst nightmare, front and center picture of Jeff Lacasse. Go through all that in my head. I come to the conclusion, as you said a minute ago, that she was at least aware this was going to happen.
There it is.
And I think probably involved in it.
There it is.
I'm still trying to get that photograph. I don't know if it's still gonna be on his Facebook page or not. I just want to see it. I just want to confirm this is individual.
I think I'd recognize it if I saw it. At least it was the same photograph I saw.
Yeah.
Photograph I recall was 4 guys like this.
Okay. Okay. All right, I got the men that you're talking about. She made, well, first of all, does she still have the same phone number?
She switched her phone 3 or 4 days after the shooting because she thought you guys had bugged it.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
I mean, right
you have
there, right? Wow.
the new number?
I don't. I think she has the same number. She has a different phone. She just
Oh,
wants
different
It's just
handset?
silly because they want to. You don't need to put a bug on a phone physically.
Right.
I mean, it's funny.
Why would she be concerned about people bugging her phone, or the police bugging her phone, I guess is what she's specifically concerned about.
I have thoughts on that because, they were bugging. They had the wiretaps going on, right? With Donna and Charlie.
I'm concerned about that.
Wow.
Go with that.
Did you ask why?
No, I knew. I immediately thought she did this, and so she told me 50 times, Jeff, I had nothing to do with this, and I always just let it be silent. Sorry, I just let it be silent because I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to play my hand. I've never said anything to her.
Mhm.
I just wanted to listen. I was hoping she might give me something interesting, and I would come tell you guys. Because she's erratic enough, I thought she might say something stupid. She must have said 50 times, I had nothing to do with this. And you saw her statement in the press. She's worried for the safety of her and her children. No one's suggesting a serial killer looking for Jewish warriors, I mean, it's just pretty targeted. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you think, she's concerned for her children's safety.
Wendi plays the victim so well. To me, it looked like classic Wendi. Everybody else felt bad for her. I thought, holy crap.
Yeah.
She did this. She
Yeah.
plays the victim instantly. She's great at it. And those names I give you, I mean, that's so you have all the data I have. Wendi with Charlie.
There it is.
I don't know who pulls the trigger, but there's a very strange relationship between those two.
Hmm.
Yeah. I acknowledge this might all sound real crazy to you, Mr. Garrett.
No. So I'm very interested in this.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I understand it
Yeah.
completely and thoroughly.
Yeah.
And I can see that it's been weighing on you heavily.
Well, it has because it sounds crazy to people, honestly. Although I told a couple people the whole story like I told it to you start to finish, and no one else has said I'm crazy. My therapist said, one thing I forgot to tell you, I had to go get a damn therapist. It was so crazy. So I tried to manage her. I tried to get some advice on relationships. And in April of 2014, he tells me, look, he's real blunt. I'm going to be honest with you. 2 possibilities. One is she's just getting over a divorce and drinking too much, and she'll settle down over time, maybe live happily ever after. Second option, she sounds an awful lot like a sociopath to me. That's an objective person.
Right.
And I said, sociopath? I said, yeah, high functioning, but she doesn't seem to have a conscience. And I said, oh, Jesus, what I got myself into? Because I was in love with her and I wasn't going to leave at that point. But that's the kind of feedback I've got when I tell people what she's actually like.
Okay.
I prefer that you guys catch somebody else, obviously.
Right. When's the last time you talked to her or had any conversation?
I could find it for you. It would have been in around August 20th.
Oh, that long ago.
Yeah. She cut off all contact because I didn't tell her I was dating. It was just bizarre. That was the time, it was about the time of commencement, summer semester commencement. That was another thing as far as narcissism and a crazy person. You know what Wendi was mostly upset about? And she told me this. The fact that she had to cancel her commencement speech because Danny was shot.
Oh, God.
Her attorney said it's a bad idea to get yourself in front of the media like that. Inside edition will show up. You can't do it. She was devastated.
Right.
It's bizarre.
I went back and looked. Apparently you all have somebody, McPherson.
Jay McPherson.
Yeah. What's the relationship? She has something to do with Wendi?
They claim that she was in the room with Wendi in the 9 hours you guys interviewed Wendi.
Change. I'm like,
Oh, she came up here. She was not in the room with her.
Wendy told me she was in the room.
She
Well,
wasn't.
okay, let me correct that.
That sounded weird to me.
Yeah,
She
it is.
came in the room, I think it was over the children. The children had to be picked up,
Gotcha.
and there was 2 ladies that were up here, and I can't remember if that was McPherson or
No,
not.
Jane was with her that day. And Jane's, coincidentally, Jane's one of my doctoral students in our program. So she's getting her PhD in social work. I teach in social work, so I know her professionally.
Right.
Jane is the one I talked to for about 3 hours, maybe 2 weeks after the crime. They told me that Wendi and her circle of friends thought I did this.
Jane told you that.
Jane told me that. She said you had to be there if you were, and she basically made it sound like if you, and she's a confidant of Wendi. But Jane knows Wendi as well as anybody. Jane doesn't think any of this. But Wendy's pretty good at fooling people. Although some of this information is publicly available, I should add. Like, she's a Truman scholar. If you go on the web and look at her statement, she says, "I hate Tallahassee. You're a bunch of country bumpkins." That's basically what she says. You know.
Although I think she told a lot of the locals
What they
that
wanted
she
to.
was satisfied, she wanted to make the best of things, and that she actually.
Well, that is what she said, and not when the door closed and it was just me and her in the house. Then it was. I mean, I got tired of listening to it. I think it's a great place. I deliberately moved back here. I could have went anywhere. I mean, so.
But it wasn't for her, and she made that clear to you, is what you're saying.
On a daily basis, you couldn't pull up to a movie theater without hearing about how the movie theater in Miami is better.
wow.
Okay.
She was
Wow.
obsessed with it. You know, her and Danny thought they'd be here a semester. Got stuck here. So.
And then and all she'd been wanting to do is get back to South Florida, and she made that quite clear to you.
I mean, it was kind of cold, actually. She basically told me, if it's between you and South Florida, I'm going to South Florida. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So there's just some sick dynamics where Wendi at one point told me that Dad was extremely violent. And I thought, well, this makes sense why you're so gun shy and, you know, hair trigger.
Harvey?
And later I said, well, with your history of family violence, she said, I never said that.
No way.
So there was a lot of inconsistencies in the line, but I don't think Charlie's been up here. If you were, your experience and instincts, you were to talk to Charlie, I assure you, there's something off about that guy.
What about this FBI?
I heard through the grapevine that the FBI talked to Rob up in New York.
That's what Wendi told you?
Where's
No, I think that's what Jane McPherson told me.
Okay.
So, and I try not to believe everything I hear because
I'm sorry.
information's everywhere. You know?
Well,
But Rob is the estranged brother. That's what they were about to talk about.
Jane McPherson heard it. She most likely got it from Wendi.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
But he's like an outside. He's not really a part of the core family.
They don't have a relationship, basically. And the impression is he's a guy who wants nothing to do with his family. There's something that happened in that house and he wants nothing to do with it.
Okay.
And I just think there's, that's the other theory, which will sound super crazy, but the people that have visited the house in Miami said to me, has anyone considered maybe the whole family's in on this? I mean, this is I said, people don't do that. I said, well,
There it
go in
is.
that house. It's real strange in there. It's real secretive. It's real weird.
Have you met her parents?
I have.
Is there anything that you can tell me about them?
Everyone in that family suffers from a severe lack of empathy for other people. She learned that somewhere. You know, pillars of the community. You get on his website. I mean, years ago I went on it. He was polite to me, but Dad's polite. Mom's kind of rude, actually.
Yeah.
I know that Father has been speculated about. They hate Danny in a way. I have a wife. I've been through a divorce. I get life. I've never seen this kind of obsession. Like their hobby is hating Danny.
Yeah.
It was like really strange. I mean, and I fell into this because Wendi could convince you of it, and maybe she convinced the parents. But
There it is. There it is.
they were going to put a. You said you put this.
So that's really interesting because we were just talking about this a few minutes ago, right? Like,
you know, again, this idea of like maybe the origin of the family hating Danny on their own really came from like Wendi convincing them to where they started to really have their own sense of hatred. Let me play that again. Sorry about my voice, guys.
Boris, I get why I've never seen this kind of obsession. Like their hobby is hating Danny. It was like really strange. I mean, and I fell into this because Wendi could convince you of it, and maybe she convinced the parents, but they were going to put her. You said you looked at some emails, but not others. At one point, Wendi was going to get a restraining order against Danny, which in retrospect is bizarre because he was a good dad. But she had Gary. You know, Gary is a lawyer that he's the one that offered Wendi the job so she could relocate in the summer of 2013. He runs a tort firm suing drug companies. He offered her $1 million job, and I wondered about him too. It's not sexual; it's more of a father-daughter thing, but they're close.
Gary,
I don't know his last name.
where does he work?
He's a lawyer. He works in Miami.
Okay.
He owns a tort firm, and there are emails. I mean, she sent this document. She compiled every email, like between Danny and Wendi, for like a year and a half. And the idea was to make this legal case that Danny is harassing her and stalking her. She always goes to this. She told me Danny was a stalker because he looked out the window one time and saw her walking down the street without the kids, and he goes, "Where are my kids? I have right of first refusal. If you don't have the kids, I should have the kids." Wendi claimed that was stalking because he said that.
Wow.
So anyway, all these emails, and the idea was we're going to persuade some judge that Danny needs to be reined in.
Right.
I read this document. At this point, I'm a little skeptical because she's screwing everybody else. And I said, this is an indictment of Wendi Adelson's character. You read this thing, you get the impression this woman is a total loon. You know, it was interesting because she thought it, like, from her point of view, it showed what an asshole Danny was. If you were to read this, it's like, this person is crazy. So that was when I started to figure that out. But there's that different perception. At first, she seems really together, and then just loses her mind. So my worry is that she had something to do with this, and has no conscience. And it's hard for me to believe she could. I know you can't give a polygraph. I can't believe she'd pass a polygraph. I can't believe she would stand up to repeated questioning if you guys had any leverage. I understand that this was done in a smart way. I don't have any leverage. But my experience with her was over time, she just collapses, you know. But if the question is, did he threaten Danny? No. If the question is, was he pathologically upset with Danny in a way I found disturbing and that put me off and it was different than, say, even Wendi or her mom? Yes. Incredibly intense about it. Incredibly intense. Charlie's so difficult to get along with. He doesn't have one dental office. He works at 5 dental offices, and they can only handle him 1 day a week in each office.
Really?
Yeah. And he seems to know this and strategize it. He's figuring out how to make it work for him. But he was a special ed kid, I believe. It's very difficult to get along with. And he is fiercely protective of Wendi.
Okay.
He had suggested seriously that they convert to Islam.
The whole family?
Just Wendi and the kids.
Islam.
Islam or Christianity, one or the other. Just to screw with Danny.
So they're not very devout in their
No,
Jewish
they're
religion.
they're atheistic Jews.
Pardon?
They're atheistic Jews, Jews that don't really believe in God. They do it culturally, they eat the food. These people don't have ethics or morals. I mean, they don't.
Immediately after the homicide, you came back. I'm with that,
Yeah.
and then you reached out to Wendi, or she contacted you.
10 days later, she texted a mutual friend acting as if I would be upset with her.
Right.
And I said, tell her to call me. She did at 3 a.m. She wasn't sleeping well. And we had a very awkward conversation. Mostly just, I think literally she talked for an hour and a half and I said probably 30 words. I just listened mostly. It was real, she wasn't sleeping. It was real crazy. But that's where she told me a lot of things that weren't true. I mean, she was, and that could just be a relationship thing. I mean, she just, I couldn't contact you until Jimmy Judkins talked to you,
Right.
I believe. And I don't know. That was really strange not to, all my friends were texting with her. And she wasn't writing a lot back, but everyone else she acknowledged. If I think of anything, I'll get back in. I actually had 2 quick questions for you, if you don't mind.
Yep.
This is completely selfish, but I'm concerned about me in this situation. I'm wondering how long it is, in your opinion, before the media, before journalists are poking around looking at this case. And I'm worried about my potential exposure as a professor and as a person.
This is an open case. I don't, they can ask all they want to. They're not getting anything.
Okay. That's for the foreseeable.
I mean, I may call you. I mean, you at some day you may be called as some type of witness.
I would do it in a second.
Boys,
Okay, I want to make sure that we're upfront about
Every
this. I mean,
trial.
this, let's say it goes from here to an arrest to a prosecution,
I'm there.
and for some reason, your testimony is needed.
I would
Yeah.
say anything I said today under oath. I would.
Okay,
So that's easy.
all right. But as far as anything prior to, anything that you're telling me, if for some reason that was, leaked to the press or anything like that, then I got an arrest to make of somebody else, no matter who it is.
I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
That'd be.
And then one other email I sent him, I pretty much accused her.
Okay. But I mean, obviously, it's more than that. I mean, yeah, you more than just suspect her at this point. That's what you've been telling me this afternoon, right?
No, that's true. That's
What I've basically gotten from you is
it's not a
this
question.
woman is directly involved.
She is.
it is.
Now, I don't think you're saying necessarily that she killed her ex-husband,
No.
but she either had something to do with orchestrating it or had knowledge that it was going to happen. That's the whole point about I have to be back on the 18th, right?
No. Give you a thumbs up and then knew it was going to happen. There's something weird about that date. So I don't think she doesn't have the skill to orchestrate it, but Charlie does. So that's quite, and I'm
Absolutely.
But you left on Thursday, and your last conversation with her was on Wednesday.
my last conversation with her was on Tuesday. An hour before that email where she says, look, I need a week.
No, on the email, she says she needs a week.
Yeah.
An hour before she sends the email, she says, are you still in town on
That's
Friday?
exactly right. That's exactly right.
And you said, I don't know, it's still up in the air,
Yeah.
she did not ask you to stay in town.
No, she did. But like the next day, I see Jane McPherson at work, and maybe there was all kinds of possibilities. So she would have found out I was leaving. Do you have any suggestions? I know they're doing a dateline on the Frosch guy that killed his wife out in Thomasville, and they only came to town. Any just advice for being an experienced investigator? What I should do if I'm approached by the media, because it's not unimaginable.
Go talk to investigator Isom.
Okay,
How simple is that?
that's easy. Okay.
Don't have to say yes, no, nothing. You're a U.S. citizen. There's nothing yes, they have First Amendment in their favor, but that doesn't mean you have to say a thing.
No, I appreciate that, but I watched Dateline enough that I can just imagine that me being presented with these pseudo suspects. That's how they do it. They show.
That would be. I don't think they're going to do that. There'd be a lot of that could be liable. A lot. I mean, I don't have you listed as anything.
Yeah.
At this point.
Good.
Okay, so no, you shouldn't have to worry about that.
There it is, guys. All right. So again, huge shout out to Deep Dive True Crime. I'm so sorry about my voice, guys. I'm so sorry. Jesus, it's just awful. Okay, so I won't say much for obvious reasons, but I think it'll be interesting to go over some of the jail calls between Charlie and Donna. So I think we will probably do that next as it pertains to this case. But yeah, that'll be it for this one because again, it's probably impossible to even understand me, and I'm so sorry about my voice. Hopefully it'll be better tomorrow. But y'all, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for being here and tolerating my stupid voice. Love y'all, and I will see you guys next time.